Chapter 492. Lin Jiej heaved a sigh of relief. It's a good thing that Desolate Year isn't so lustful that he'll abandon his career. Otherwise, if he didn't leave now, the only thing he would do in the game would be to destroy Softbun's phone. However, even though Desolate Year had ended his livestream, he didn't exit the game right away. Instead, he reluctantly bade farewell to Shi Yao. Desolate Year. Daddy, I can't play anymore. My friend is calling me out for a drink. I have to leave now. Yao loves ice cream. Alright, bye-bye. Heh, that's a pretty good excuse. It's fine if you don't dare to continue playing, but to think that your friend is calling you out for a drink? Lin Jiej thought disdainfully as he tapped on the screen and sent an 8. The third wheel was finally leaving. It was finally time for him and Softbun to spend some alone time together. However, before Lin Jiej could celebrate, Desolate Year's voice sounded in his ears once more. Right, Yao, I'm calling you out for supper tonight. If you don't want to go, let's meet up again after we return to Beijing, alright? Yao? Meet up again after we return to Beijing? Lin Jiej's heart skipped a beat, and he abruptly raised his head to look at Shi Yao. A conflicted look appeared on Shi Yao's face. So, Softbun is rejecting me? Lin Jiej's heart calmed down a little. Desolate Year noticed that Shi Yao wasn't replying, so he spoke up once more. It's like this. Isn't your school starting on the 1st of September? I have a friend from the same hometown who's studying in your school. I'm not sure if you know her, but she's Song Tian, and she's from the English faculty. Yao loves ice cream. She's my classmate and she lives in the dormitory right next to mine. It can't be, right? Is the world really that small? The friend of a 360,000 wild man is actually Softbun's classmate? Lin Jiej's heart felt as if it had been on a roller coaster. Desolate Year. What a coincidence. I've arranged to have a meal with her at your school canteen on the first day of school. If you have the time, why don't you come along with her? Perhaps it was because they were acquaintances, but Shi Yao didn't reject the offer completely. Her answer was rather ambiguous. Alright then, I'll look around then. If I have the time, I'll go with Tiantian. Lin Jiej's heart immediately sank to the bottom of an abyss. Desolation's tone was obviously much happier. Well, I'll leave first. You guys have fun. We'll contact each other later. Yao loves ice cream. Alright. Goodbye. This 360,000 wild man had even buried a mine for him before he left. Lin Jiej gritted his teeth in frustration for a moment before realizing that Desolate Year had left, leaving only the two of them in the room. Lin Jiej hurriedly reined in his thoughts that had been thrown into disarray by Desolate Year. Thinking that he would deal with the other party later on, he typed, "Do you still want to play?" Shi Yao replied with an "un." Lin Jiej replied with an before starting the game. Since Lin Jiej couldn't use voice chat, there was nothing Shi Yao could say to him. Thus the game fell silent. Roughly a minute later, Lin Jiej and Shi Yao boarded the in-game plane. While flying along the flight path, Lin Jiej sent a message. "Where should I jump?" Shi Yao continued to ignore him. Thinking that she didn't see it, he sent another message. "Hubby, where do we jump?" There was still no response. Lin Jiej raised his head to look at Shi Yao. Chapter 493. Lin Jiej couldn't help but raise his head to look at Shi Yao. The young lady was holding onto her phone, and her head was leaning against the sofa. She had already fallen asleep. Lin Jiej couldn't help but chuckle. He put down his phone, got off the bed and walked over to Shi Yao. As he got closer, he was able to look at her a little more clearly. Beside her was a floor lamp, and the warm yellow light quietly shone on her body. It was as if a layer of filter had been added to her fair and delicate skin, making it seem as if water could be squeezed out of it if one were to pinch it. In that instant, 4 words surfaced in Lin Jiej's mind. Creamy skin. He thought, these 4 words are probably tailor-made for Softbun. Standing by the sofa, Lin Jiej lowered his head to look at Shi Yao for a long while before he slowly bent down and gently took off the earpiece on her head. After which, he pulled her phone away from her fingers and carried her up. Lin Jiej used a lot of strength, but as he carried her into his embrace, he realized that she was really very light. Lin Jiej's eyebrows subconsciously knitted together. She has such a huge appetite and she's so delicious. So why is she so light? She really is a panda. Most likely she's just like a panda. unable to absorb much of the food that she eats. While Lin Jiej muttered to himself, he carried Shuyao over to the bed that belonged to her. His footsteps were extremely slow. If it was possible, he really wished that time would stop, or that the road ahead would be endless. Lin Jiej walked over to the bed and carefully placed Shuyao on it. Then very gently he covered her with a blanket. The bedside lamp was still lit, but it was a little blinding. Fearing that it would disturb Shuyao's sleep, Lin Jiej reached out to switch it off. Just as he was about to get up to leave, his gaze couldn't help but fall on her face once more. Her eyelashes were very long like two little fans. Beneath her sharp nose were lips that were the perfect shade of red. She examined her face carefully, and she was indeed very beautiful. She was even more beautiful than the first time he caught a glimpse of her in the SKP elevator. Lin Jiej stared at Shuyao for a very long time, and a smile slowly crept up his lips. It was a little warm and doting. This was the girl he liked. So obedient, so beautiful, and so enchanting. In the past, it wasn't that he hadn't thought about what it would be like if he fell in love with someone one day. At that time he had imagined that the girl was either very bright, very clean, very cute, or very enchanting. But at this very moment, the only name that came to his mind was Shuyao. Bright, clean, adorable, enchanting. No matter how good the adjectives were, they all paled in comparison to the word Shuyao. With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej lowered his head slightly and whispered into the sleeping Shuyao's ears, "It's a pleasure to meet the girl I like." After he finished speaking, he was not in a hurry to leave. Instead, he lowered his head slightly and stayed by her ear for a while. Then he suddenly chuckled and turned to look at her sleeping face. "Did you know? When I saw you today, I've always wanted to ask you something." The room was silent for a few seconds before Lin Jiej spoke once more. His voice was still very nonchalant. "Did you miss me?" After a few seconds of silence, he moved his lips again. "It's fine if you haven't. I miss you very much anyway." Chapter 494. This time Lin Jiej didn't linger by Shuyao's side for too long. He straightened his back and prepared to head back to his bed when he caught sight of Shuyao's phone lying on the sofa not too far away. When he carried her over, he saw the low battery notification on her phone. He pondered for a moment before walking over to his bed and unplugging Shuyao's charging cable. After which, he walked over to the floor-to-ceiling window and picked up Shuyao's phone. Her phone wasn't locked and it was still on the game page. Lin Jiej instinctively wanted to back out of the game, but just as his fingers were about to touch the screen he suddenly froze. Roughly 3 seconds later, he turned to look at Shuyao, who was lying on the bed. Seeing that she was sleeping soundly, he walked over to her bed with light steps and picked up his phone. He unlocked the screen and tapped into Shuyao's message. He sent her a message. "Did you miss me?" After sending the message, a notification popped up on Shuyao's phone in his other hand. He tapped on it and replied without any hesitation. "Yes." Then he raised his phone. "Do you like me?" Following which, he picked up Shuyao's phone. "Yes." Even though he was answering his own question, Lin Jiej's lips still curled up into a smile. "How much do you like me?" "Very much." "Are you still going to call off your engagement with me?" "Nope." As if it didn't cost him anything, Lin Jiej sent messages back and forth between the two phones before tossing his phone back onto the bed. After which, he deleted the messages he had just received and sent from Shuyao's phone one by one. After confirming that he hadn't left behind any flaws, he tiptoed over to Shuyao's bed with Shuyao's phone in hand and placed it on the bedside table. After which, he connected her phone to the power supply. Returning to his bed, Lin Jiej leaned against the bedside table as he picked up his phone and read through all the messages he had sent earlier. "Do you miss me?" "Yes." "Do you like me?" "Yes." "How much do you like me?" "Very much." "Are you still going to call off your engagement with me?" "Nope." When he reached the end of the message, the delighted smile on Lin Jiej's lips gradually froze. Right now, in her heart, was she still thinking of breaking off the engagement with him? Lin Jiej lowered his gaze to conceal the darkness in his eyes. A moment later he turned to look at the sleeping Shuyao. He stared at her for a long time before he pursed his lips and retracted his gaze. Then when he looked at the messages on the screen of his phone again, he was no longer as excited and delighted as before. It was a quiet night, and Lin Jiej was left alone for a very long time. Then, as if he had suddenly thought of something, he tapped into his contact list and changed Shi Yao's name to Soft Bun. A while later, he changed it to Big White Chubby. And a while later, as if he was still dissatisfied, he changed it to Panda. Following that, Panda became Big White Chubby became Soft Bun became Yao became 520, Long Lin Long Yao Yao and Jiej Long Ao Yao and of Yao Yao and Yao Yao Long and of A. Chapter 495. 21. The more Lin Jiej looked at the number, the more satisfied he was. The stroke of deep love was 21, the stroke of bliss was 21, and Shi Yao's stroke was also 21. In other words, Shi Yao was bliss and Shi Yao was deeply in love. With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej couldn't help but turn to the sleeping Shi Yao and say, "Hey 21. No one responded to him. But he didn't mind the boredom at all, and he continued, "Hey 21, 21, 21, 21. He called out a few more times before he suddenly stopped staring at Shi Yao's lips, completely motionless. His breathing slowly began to quicken. His heartbeat sped up, slowed down and stopped. His Adam's apple bobbed up and down twice. Then, as if a puppet under someone's control, he slowly inched closer to Shi Yao's side. His eyes locked onto her lips as he slowly inched closer and closer to her. When he was roughly a centimeter away from her lips, he suddenly stopped. Holding his breath, he stared at her sleeping face for a moment before he slowly closed his eyes and pressed his trembling lips against hers. His arm, which was placed right beside her ear, was trembling slightly. He maintained his stiff posture, not daring to move at all. After a while, he gently pecked her lips and reluctantly turned his head away. He felt that there was a fire burning rapidly in his body. He could clearly sense the changes that were happening to his body. He clearly understood that he wanted to do something at this moment, but he also knew that he couldn't. He suddenly felt that his ploy to seduce his big sister and set up Soft Bun wasn't really his ultimate move. After all, having her by his side on a night like this was nothing short of sweet torture. He closed his eyes and forced himself to calm down for a moment. Then he swiftly got up and ran to the bathroom, as if he was running for his life. In the instant that he closed the door, the only thought in his mind was to run for his life. If he didn't run, someone might really die from the both of them tonight. A second ago the bathroom door was closed. A second later, Shi Yao's eyelashes fluttered, and she opened her eyes. She had woken up early in the morning. She had not slept since she arrived in Shenzhen. When she was being matched with her teammates, she was too sleepy and fell asleep without paying attention. However, the moment he picked her up, she was woken up by his slight movement. Such an intimate scene made her a little shy. She didn't dare to move and continued to pretend to be asleep. She thought he would put her on the bed and all of this would be over, but she didn't expect that he would actually whisper in her ear, "Nice to meet you, the girl I like." In the quiet night, his words seemed to be enchanted. It was extremely bewitching, causing her heart to be in a complete mess. She didn't dare to move. She didn't even dare to breathe. She tried hard to turn herself into a zombie, lying motionless and straight on the ground. Even after he had finished speaking and left, her mind was still blank. Even though she had woken up, she couldn't hear anything from the room at all. She had no idea what he had done, and she had no idea how much time had passed. All she knew was that Lin Jiej had been acting like a fool, calling her second aunt. Second aunt? Was he crazy? Chapter 496. Instinctively, she reined in her thoughts, and her body stiffened as she tensed up. Even though her eyes were closed, she could still feel his gaze on her passionately. In that instant, her heart felt as though it was a wild horse that had escaped its reins, and it was beating wildly out of her control. In the dark and silent night, one's senses were magnified infinitely. She could vaguely feel his head getting closer and closer to her. In fact, she could even feel his breath. She could vaguely guess what he was going to do next. She also knew that she should avoid or push him away. But she didn't know what was wrong with her, but she couldn't do anything at all. She could only stare blankly as his lips slowly pressed against hers. Her fingers tightened nervously around the blanket. She felt as if all the blood in her body had stopped flowing. All of her senses and thoughts were focused on his lips. They were soft and hot, reminiscent of a glutinous rice cake that had just been taken out of the pot, but at the same time it felt like a man-eating beast. She felt flustered and helpless. It was fortunate that his lips didn't linger on hers for too long. He quickly moved away. But even so, he was still pressing down on her, unwilling to leave. He didn't look fat, but he carried a lot of weight. Yet this weight didn't make her feel disgusted. The scent on his body was as clean and fragrant as always. In this kind of environment, her entire body gradually became dizzy. Then she felt a very hard thing pressing against her lower abdomen. It was a little painful. Her first instinct was that it was his belt. She didn't dare to move recklessly, but she felt uncomfortable. Just as she was considering whether she should pretend to have woken up and move her body, Lin Jiej suddenly left, recalling everything that had happened earlier. Her face couldn't help but burn a little. She patted her cheeks lightly and was just about to take a few deep breaths to calm herself down when the door to the washroom suddenly opened. She abruptly closed her eyes, and in an instant, she didn't dare to move recklessly. Rustling sounds came from the bed beside her. She knew that it was the sound of Lin Jiej lying on the bed. Soon the room became completely silent. But she didn't feel sleepy at all. His words, "Nice to meet you, the girl I like," kept flashing through her mind, followed by his lips pressing against hers and finally, the weight of him pressing down on her body. The next day when Lin Jiej woke up, he was the only one left in the hotel. Shi Yao had disappeared, and so did her belongings. Soft Bun actually left without even saying a word? This looks more like she's sneaking. He didn't do anything yesterday, so why is she sneaking? With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej stretched his back lazily before raising his hand to touch his lips. Lin Jiej's flight was at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so it wouldn't be long before 4 o'clock when he returned to Beijing. As soon as he landed on the ground and switched on his phone, the first thing he did was send Shi Yao a message asking her out for dinner. 10 minutes later he received Shi Yao's reply. "I have a date with Lung Nuan tonight." Lung Nuan? The girl that Liu Binlai fell in love with? Oh, it's a woman. Lin Jiej didn't think too much into it. He calmly replied with a "all right" before instructing the driver to send him home. Since Shi Yao wasn't invited, Lin Jiej didn't ask anyone else out either. Instead, he obediently waited at home for Shi Yao to log into the game at night. Then he suddenly thought of Desolate Years. Chapter 497. Before he chased that 360k wild man away last night, he had treacherously buried a landmine. Since Soft Bun didn't have the time to pamper him, should he sweep the landmine first? With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej tapped into Beansprout TV and entered Desolate Years' livestream. Desolate Years was currently live streaming, and the content of his livestream was to help his fans get higher points. If you're a man, jump into a military base. I'm a man, I choose Novorep Noi. You want to hit me? Then you'll have to catch up to me first. Chase, 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 chase. If you catch up to me, I'll let you he. Bro, I'm selling cheats now. Do you want to buy them? If you don't, I'll beat you up and humiliate you. BBB big bro, don't kill me. I'll give you my guns, just like last night. Desolate Years' mouth never stopped moving. Lin Jiej picked at his ears in disdain while mocking Desolate Age's skills in his heart. At the same time, he was also paying close attention to the content of the livestream. An hour later, Lin Jiej realized that there was a lady named Desolate Years Little Fairy, who was able to get into the game successfully every single time. As for the other two teammates, Desolate Year had shared their gaming rooms with their fans' QQ group, and whoever was faster and managed to get in first would have the opportunity to play together with Desolate Year. Desolate Year's Little Fairy. Where did she get such a unique skill that allowed Desolate Years to help her get higher points in every single game? Lin Jiej was truly curious, so he took a look at Desolate Year's livestream announcement and realized that he could join his fan group by tipping a RMB. Thus, he created a Smurf account and tipped a RMB to Desolate Years, successfully joining his fan group on QQ. The name of the group was very straightforward: Desolate Years Fan Group. The owner of the group was Desolate Years, and the administrator was Desolate Years Little Fairy. The other members in the group also had the words Desolate Years added in front of their names. As soon as Lin Jiej entered the group, an administrator immediately sent him a private message to change the name of the group. Lin Jiej replied with an okay before asking, "Why is Desolate Year's little fairy able to keep playing with him?" The admin replied, "Little fairy tipped Nian Nian 1,000 yuan today." Nian Nian purposely gave her a group chat and promised that she wouldn't get out of the car tonight. Lin Jiej expressionlessly replied with an oh, but in his heart he was thinking, "So it turns out that you need to spend money to get close to 360,000 wild men?" As this thought flashed across Lin Jiej's mind, his eyes suddenly lit up. Wasn't he worried about how to clear the mines? Wasn't the method already delivered to his doorstep? If a girl whose words were even more pleasant to the ears than Soft Bun were to appear and successfully seduce Desolate Year, wouldn't Soft Bun have nothing to do with him anymore? With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej unhesitatingly searched the internet and downloaded a voice changer. Chapter 498. Thank you, little cutie from Desolate Years, for your 1,000 renminbi. Thank you very much, little cutie. Thank you very much, little cutie. Amidst Desolate Year's gratitude, Lin Jiej also became a room manager. At the same time, the administrator who had just informed him of the name change sent him another message. Little cutie, after this game is over, Nian Nian will bring you to the next game. Lin Jiej replied with an oh in typical Lin Jiej fashion. But before he sent it, he remembered that he was playing as a girl at the moment. So he deleted the oh and replaced it with the usual He even added a cute smiley face at the end. While waiting for Desolate Year's game to end, Lin Jiej searched for a bunch of super cute female avatars on the internet and sent them to Xia Shangzhou and Lu Benlai. Which of these avatars do you want to flirt with the most? Lu Benlai was the first to reply. Other than my wife Nuan Nuan, I don't want to flirt with anyone else. Compared to Lu Benlai, Xia Shangzhou was much more reliable. Third, big breasts, fair skin, sleepy. He even added a drooling emoji at the end. Sleepy? 360,000 wild men want to sleep when they see this avatar. Him. Lin Jiej shuddered. He suddenly felt as if he couldn't bring himself to do so. But before planting Soft Bun into the flower pot, in order to slaughter the peach blossoms around his house without anyone noticing, Lin Jiej decided to grit his teeth and bear with it. Thus he changed Xia Shangzhou's big breasts, fair skin, sleepy profile picture to his QQ and Bean Sprout TV profile picture. Of course, Lin Jiej didn't forget to create a new avatar in the game using this new QQ account. The name was still Little Cutie from Desolate Years. By the time Lin Jiej was done, Desolate Years' game had already ended. Before starting a new round, he sent Lin Jiej a private message. Without any hesitation, Lin Jiej used Little Cutie from Desolate Years to enter the game room. Upon seeing him, Desolate Years immediately spoke up. "Hello, little cutie. Can you hear me?" Instead of replying, Lin Jiej typed out a reply. "Sure." In order to make himself look more adorable, Lin Jiej even added a smiling emoji after sending the message. Soon, the other two fans of Desolate Years entered the game room. Then the game began. Lin Jiej and the other two fans of Desolation Year followed Desolation Year to the ground and began picking up the items. Compared to Desolate Years and the other two fans, Lin Jiej didn't say a single word from start to end. It was only when they were driving away from the blue circle that they bumped into a team and Lin Jiej, pretending to be a newbie, was beaten to death by them that he turned on the game's voice changer and pretended to be panicking. With a pitiful look on his face he said, "Little brother, someone hit me. Where did they hit me? Why can't I see it? Does this count as me turning into a box?" Through the voice changer, Lin Jiej's voice was soft and sweet. In an instant, Desolate Years' live stream room exploded. "Wow, this girl's voice is so soft and cute, my cup of tea. I really want to marry this girl." Just from the voice he could tell that it must be a cute and sweet girl. Even Desolation couldn't help but praise his voice. Lin Jiej knew that he had succeeded in the first step, and Desolate Years had fallen into his trap. Thus he began preparing for the second step. Chapter 499. If the first step was just a small scheme, speaking up at a crucial moment to attract Desolate Year's attention with his voice, then the second step could be said to be a grand scheme. Lin Jiej had initially wanted to search for a photo online, but he was afraid that someone would recognize it as a fake if they searched for it. so he decided to create an original photo instead. He thought about using Lin Jia's photo, and he even considered using his mother's, Zhang Wanggui's, but he felt that one of them was too flamboyant and the other was too much of a queen. Thus, he decided to take a photo himself and Photoshop it into a female version. Before taking the photo, Lin Jie first headed to Lin Jia's room, and while she wasn't home, he stole her wig, clothes, and accessories. Then, as if a thief, he snuck into his own room, locked the door from the inside, and began putting on the clothes and accessories. In order to make the photo look more realistic, Lin Jie even clenched his jaws and applied a pink lipstick. After everything was ready, Lin Jie took a look at himself in the mirror before picking up his phone to take a selfie. He rarely took pictures, let alone selfies. As a result, he took dozens of pictures of himself in front of the camera, either with a cold face or a blank expression. All in all, even if the Photoshop software was very powerful, it was difficult to make him look like a cute girl with his posture. On Desolate Year's side, the game had already entered the final circle. Lin Jie knew that he didn't have much time left. So he went online to search for the photos of the female celebrities on the internet, and with a pout of his heart, he made a peace sign to the camera and took this photo that would leave him with nightmares for the rest of his life. It was also the photo that left him the most satisfied out of all the photos he had taken that night. Lin Jie tossed his phone aside and removed Lin Jia's wig, clothes, and accessories. After changing back into his own clothes, he sneaked into Lin Jia's room like a thief and placed her belongings back in their original positions. After which, he returned to his room and began photoshopping the photo. After he was done, Lin Jie wasn't in a hurry to carry out the second step of his plan. Instead, he sent it over to Xia Shangzhou and Lu Benlai. What do you think about this? He wanted to type the word girl, but he suddenly remembered that this girl was born from his foundation, thus, he directly ignored the form of address, added a few words and sent. What do you think? Xia Shangzhou was the first to reply to his message. He sent a series of drooling emojis. Wow, boss. Who is this? Please introduce us. Lu Benlai, nice. However, she's not as pretty as my wife. Lin Jie ignored Lu Benlai's message and switched over to Xia Shangzhou's message. Boss, this lass is my cup of tea. Can you give me her contact details? Daddy sop sop sop. Lu Benlai, actually she's not too bad. It's just that her chest is a little too small. Nonsense. Big breasts are a problem. Okay. Lin Jie continued to ignore Lu Benlai's message. Then he took a look at Xia Shangzhou's message, which was still calling Daddy for his contact number, and thought, wake up, you fool. You'll never be able to contact this person in this lifetime. After which, he completely ignored the two of them and headed straight to QQ. Chapter 500. Even the two people who had been with him for 3 years didn't recognize him. He felt relieved. With this thought in mind, Lin Jie uploaded the photo that symbolized his humiliation to the Desolate Years fan group. For Soft Bun, I've really sacrificed a lot. But it's not like I can't accept this photo. As long as I can be with Soft Bun, everything else is just a fleeting cloud. But speaking of which, he was probably the only person in the world who could love someone so much that he would sacrifice everything for her. Roughly 3 seconds after the photo was uploaded, the group burst into an uproar. What the heck, beautiful lady? Is this little cutie in person? She's so beautiful. I didn't think that little cutie would have such a beautiful face other than her voice. Who was the one who said that people with beautiful voices usually have indescribable looks? Little cutie must be someone who specializes in face slapping. You said it yourself, she's just ordinary. Little cutie is an extraordinary existence. Seeing that more and more people were popping up in the group, Lin Jie knew that most of them had already seen the photo he had uploaded. Feigning that his hand had trembled, he deleted the photo and sent a message. I accidentally clicked on the wrong button. Why did you delete it? I didn't get a good look at it. I saved it. I'll send it to you. That photo is fake, right? Did you steal it from the internet? That's not it. I searched the internet as soon as the photo appeared, but I didn't manage to find it. Does that mean that little cutie's photo is real? I really want to love. Along with the notifications in the group, Lin Jie received many friend requests on his QQ. Among them was Years of Desolation, who had just finished a game and came to the group to take a look. I've been waiting for you. Ignoring everyone else, Lin Jiej only agreed to Desolate Years' proposal. After successfully adding him as a friend, in order to ensure that his fangirl's acting was a success, Lin Jiej sent a cute, smiley emoji over. Little brother, I really like your live streams. Desolate Years, little cutie. Lin Jiej. Not forgetting to add a blushing emoji. Desolation. Is that you in the photo in the group? Lin Jiej, followed by a blushing emoji. Desolation. He's quite good looking. Desolation. Come, let's continue playing games. As he spoke, Desolation shared a link. Lin Jiej wasn't in a hurry to enter the game. Instead, he sent another message over. I'm really stupid and I don't really know how to play. I might drag you down with me. Desolation. It's okay, bring it along. A second after receiving Desolate Years' QQ message, Lin Jiej received Shi Yao's WeChat message. Yao loves ice cream. Do you want to play? Small theater. On a certain day, Lin Jiej went on a business trip, leaving Shi Yao alone at home. Bored, Shi Yao headed over to the Sexy and Frisky group and sent a message. Are we going to get chicken dinner? Lin Jiej. I am a chicken. Chapter 501. Lin Jiej instinctively wanted to reply to Shi Yao's message, but before he could switch to WeChat, he received another message from Desolate Years on QQ. Do you have a WeChat ID? I have a friend on WeChat asking me to play. Can we switch to WeChat together? WeChat. I have a friend. A second ago, Softbun asked me if I wanted to play. A second later, Desolate Years asked me to switch. It can't be that my friend is Softbun, can it? Lin Jiej pondered for 2 seconds before replying. Alright, little Gidge. Then he used his iPad to register a new WeChat ID and named it Desolate Years Little Cutie. After adding Desolate Years as a friend, Lin Jiej logged into the game, and as expected, Yao Loves Ice Cream was in the room as well. He had guessed it right. While Softbun was asking him to play, she was also asking him to play with 360,000 wild men. No, now that he had 1,000 more fans, he had 361,000 wild men. He had waited obediently for her at home for an entire night, but she didn't just dote on him. Lin Jiej felt like his vinegar jar was overturning row after row. He didn't believe that he would lose to a wild man in a fight for a woman's affections. Lin Jiej stared at Yao Loves Ice Cream on the screen for a moment, and his eyes flickered for a moment before he switched back to WeChat and sent a message to Shi Yao. I have something to do. Can I play later? Yao Loves Ice Cream. Sure. Call me later. Lin Jiej replied with an before switching back to the game. Following which he realized that Desolate Years had already started playing, and there were only 3 people in the game. Beansprout TV Desolate Years, Yao Loves Ice Cream, and Desolate Years Little Cutie. After boarding the plane, Lin Jiej spoke through his voice changer. Big brother Nian, this is Desolate Years. My friend. Desolate Years Little Cutie. Is it little Gidge? Yao Loves Ice Cream. That's right. After that they stopped chatting. When she landed on the ground, there was a team in the vicinity. When Shi Yao was discovered and chased around, Desolate Year immediately rushed over to help her. Upon seeing this, Lin Jiej immediately panicked and said into the voice changer, Big brother Nian, I'm so scared. There's someone beating me up here. Then Desolate Years shamelessly ran over to help little cutie of Desolate Years, and Yao Loves Ice Cream was hammered to death with a frying pan. Following which, in the second round of the game, Desolation Year was just about to rush over to save Shi Yao when Lin Jiej grabbed a hand grenade and blew himself up. Big brother Nian, hurry up and save me. Eventually, Desolate Year Little Cutie was saved by Desolate Year, and Yao Loves Ice Cream turned into a box spirit due to excessive blood loss. The third round, fourth round, and sixth round, Shi Yao died once more when Lin Jiej's phone suddenly rang. Chapter 502. What a be *H White Lotus. Who is she talking about? Even though little cutie of the Desolate era was still alive in the game, Lin Jiej still chose to reply to Shi Yao's WeChat immediately. Question mark. From the content of the message, He could tell that Shi Yao was truly furious. Lin Jiej pondered for a moment, but he felt that the question mark wasn't passionate enough. So he tapped on his phone screen a few more times and asked, "What's wrong?" A few days ago, when he was browsing through his moments out of boredom, he saw the only man in room 501, Song Chaoshi, post a message. If your girlfriend came to you and told you that someone made her unhappy, it didn't matter what the reason was. What was important was that as long as she came to you and told you that someone made her unhappy, what you had to do was to stand on her side for no reason and help her to scold the person who made her unhappy as crazily as possible. If you can't do this, your fate will be. Below the message was a picture of Song Chaoshi squatting pitifully by the roadside in the middle of the night, feeding mosquitoes. Even though Soft Bun wasn't his girlfriend yet, he felt that he should learn from Song Chaoshi's blood and tears and help Soft Bun lash out at the B** White Lotus first. With such thoughts in mind, Lin Jiej began typing again. Less than 111,111. Don't get angry. It's not worth getting angry over such a person. While typing, Lin Jiej suddenly remembered that even though Soft Bun wasn't his girlfriend, she was his fiancée. Thus, he quickly moved his fingers and sent 2 more WeChat messages. Less than 111,111. After all, if a dog bites you, are you going to crawl to the ground and bite it back? Less than 111,111. Of course, we can't do something so undignified. If a dog bites us, we'll just beat it to death. Yao loves ice cream. I understand what you're saying and I support what you're saying as well. But I'm still so angry, woo. Following those words was a row of crying emojis. Why are there so many crying emojis? Without any hesitation, Lin Jiej continued typing. 111,111. Don't cry, your tears are pearls. It's such a waste to shed tears for someone who has traveled all over the world and drank water from the back of a toilet. Yao loves ice cream. Not only did she drink from the toilet, her head was also filled with water. 111,111. Yes, 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 and it's water from a stinky ditch. Yao loves ice cream. His state of mind had exploded from playing games. Lin Jiej was just about to continue typing to help Shi Yao flare up when he abruptly froze. After about 10 seconds, a long string of words appeared on his screen. Chapter 503. Brother Nyan. So delicate. This isn't this him? Says so. The bitchy white lotus that Soft Bun was talking about is him? Lin Jiej suddenly found it hard to accept that there would come a day when he would be described as a bitchy and a white lotus by others. I'm an upright man, so how did I become a bitch? How did I become a white lotus? Lin Jiej felt as if something was pressing down on his heart, leaving him feeling incredibly stifled. Yao loves ice cream. I swear on all of my snacks that little cutie did it on purpose. Yao loves ice cream. I didn't provoke her at all, and I don't even know her. Yet, she's targeting me for no reason at all. I feel so wronged, woo. Looking at Shi Yao's new message, Lin Jiej heaved a sigh of relief to soothe the stifling feeling in his heart. Then he lifted his finger and began typing. Less than 111,111. Don't mind it too much. After typing those words, Lin Jiej suddenly remembered how indignant he had been, and how he had unreservedly supported Shi Yao's frenzied outburst just a moment ago. His hand suddenly swayed, and he nearly flung his phone out of his hand. All those words he said just now were actually directed at himself? A dog bites you. A dog? I'm not a dog. I'm a loyal hound. I drank from behind the toilet. Lin Jiej racked his brains for a long time, but he couldn't come up with a plausible explanation. His brain felt as if it was filled with water from the sewers. Lin Jiej continued racking his brains for a long time, but he still couldn't come up with a plausible explanation. In the end, there was only one sentence left in his mind. I just want to say 666,666. I'm so good. Lin Jiej gave himself a tight slap on the face in his heart. Why did you have to run your mouth like that when you have nothing better to do? Now that retribution has arrived. Does it feel good? Does it feel good? Does it feel good? Compared to Lin Jiej's earlier vicious tongue, the current him was much gentler in his typing. Less than 111,111. Perhaps she didn't mean anything by it. It's just a coincidence. Yao loves ice cream. How is that possible? If it happened once, it could be considered a coincidence. If it happened twice, 3 times, or even 4 times, he could barely accept it. What about 5 or 6 times? There must be something fishy if there are too many coincidences. Yao loves ice cream. Besides, it's not like I'm a fool. You haven't played the game, so you have no idea how hilarious her excuse was. At the start, it was still acceptable, but eventually, she said that she was afraid of being alone in the house, so she asked Desolate Year to accompany her. Sigh, we're in the game, so why would I be afraid of an ice cream ball? Lin Jiej blinked his eyes in confusion. Did he really think of such a disgusting and retarded reason? Yao loves ice cream. Do you think she's a B***tch? Could he choose not to answer? At this very moment, Lin Jiej suddenly felt a little regretful for abandoning little cutie of the desolate era. Without any hesitation to look for soft bun. Yao loves ice cream, why aren't you saying anything? Yao loves ice cream. It can't be that you're thinking the same way as that Huang Nian, thinking that this white lotus flower is adorable. Chapter 504. This guy liking this kind of delicate girl, this label is a little unreasonable, but she's soft bun. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm the one who caused this trouble, so even if I have to kneel on the ground, I have to resolve it. Gritting his teeth, Lin Jiej counted down in his mind 3, 2, 1. After which he pressed down on the keyboard a few times before closing his eyes and sending out a message. Less than 111,111 bitch. Yao loves ice cream, how perfunctory. You call it perfunctory? Who in the world would perfunctory someone to the point of scolding themselves? Lin Jiej had thousands of opinions in his mind, but he didn't dare voice them out. In the end, he could only grit his teeth and humiliate himself as he typed once more. Less than 111,111 one word, bitch. 2 words, really, bitch. 3 words, bitch. 4 words, bitch. Yao loves ice cream. I knew that you wouldn't like that kind of slutty girl. You're much better than that Huang Nian. Is this a compliment? But no matter how he looked at it, it felt like an insult to him to compare him to that wild man of 361,000. Lin Jiej felt aggrieved, but he didn't say anything. Instead, he pointed out the typo in her words. Less than 111,111, Huang Nian. Yao loves ice cream. That's right. Huang Nian. You said that he kept circling around little cutie because of her pleasant voice. If he isn't Huang Nian, what else can he be? Compared to little cutie of the desolate years, Lin Jiej preferred to scold desolate years. 1111. Yes, you're absolutely right. He's Huang Nian, a pervert whose head is filled with perverted thoughts. Yao loves ice cream. But I still hate that little cutie more. Who told her to screw me over so many times? Yao loves ice cream. If the heavens give me a chance to meet her in the game, I'll definitely beat her to death. Yao loves ice cream, but my marksmanship isn't good enough. What if I can't hit her? Can you help me? Isn't it enough for me to scold myself for her sake? You want me to beat myself to death? All of a sudden, Lin Jiej felt a little expectant. If he could cut off the internet for the entire journey, he would be able to escape this calamity. Yao loves ice cream. Help me kill her, alright? What to do? Faced with Soft Bun's request, he found himself completely helpless. Lin Jiej felt as if his very bottom line was crumbling. Yao loves ice cream. Can you please? Lin Jiej imagined the scene of Shi Yao saying those 4 words in her soft and sweet voice. His heart immediately melted into a puddle of water, and without any hesitation, he typed a single word in reply. 111,111. Okay. Yao loves ice cream. I knew you're the best. That's the best. Those 3 words had successfully pleased Lin Jiej. Not only did his bottom line crumble, but it had also crumbled into pieces. 111,111. I'll help you kill him 10 times. Yao loves ice cream. 3 cute emojis followed behind it. 111,111. You're not angry anymore, right? Yao loves ice cream, it's fine, it's fine. 111,111. Then shall we play? Yao loves ice cream, sure, sure. 111111. Just the 2 of us. Chapter 505. For now, Lin Jiej felt that this word was an eyesore, so he tried his best to erase it from Shi Yao's message. But at the very least it was better than nothing at all. It looks like little cutie of the desolate years hasn't succeeded yet. Comrade, I still have to work hard. Before Lin Jiej left to play with Shi Yao, he didn't forget to take a look at his QQ. And sure enough, he received a message from Desolate Years. Desolate Years. Little cutie, why did you disconnect? Desolate Years. Little cutie, where did you go? Desolate Years. Little cutie. Little cutie of the desolate years. Big brother Nian, my mother just came to visit me. She told me to sleep and forbade me from playing games, so I can't play with you today. I'll play tomorrow, alright? Lin Jiej pondered for a moment before replying the message that Shi Yao had just sent him to Desolate Years. Little cutie of the desolate years. Alright. Desolate years. Alright, I'll be there 24 hours. Good night, little cutie. Good night wasn't something that could be said to just anyone. Lin Jiej replied with a smile emoji before turning his attention back to Desolate Years. By the time he was done playing with Shi Yao, it was already around midnight. After bidding good night to Shi Yao, Lin Jiej went to take a shower. When he returned, he lay on the bed, but he didn't rush to sleep. Instead, he picked up his phone and logged into Little Cutie of the Desolate Years. After logging in, he immediately started the game. In the first round, after jumping off the plane, he allowed himself to float into the sea, and he watched helplessly as he drowned to his death. In the second round, after jumping off the plane, he picked up a grenade and blew himself up. In the third round, he landed at the very edge of the battlefield and tossed his phone to the side. He picked up the remote control and watched the television for a while, but by the time he looked at the screen, he had already been poisoned to death. In the fourth round, after Lin Jiej landed, he found a motorbike and raced in a fancy manner before crashing into himself. In the fifth round, when Lin Jiej parachuted down, he found the highest point to land on and jumped down, only to fall to his death. For the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th rounds, Lin Jiej referenced the deaths of the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th rounds respectively. After successfully killing himself 10 times, Lin Jiej finally exited the game, put down his phone, switched off the television, and lay down on his bed preparing to sleep. It wasn't that he wanted to torture himself, but he had to do what he promised her. Even though he knew very well that her conversation with him at that time was just to vent her frustrations. But even so, even if she didn't take it seriously, he had promised her, so he couldn't go back on his word. Because to him in this world, the most important thing was not "I love you," but "I will fulfill my promise to you." With such thoughts in mind, Lin Jiej placed his arm behind his head, and a gentle smile crept up his face. Softbun 21. Do you know that I'll always do what I've promised you? I won't force you to do what you don't want to do, be it now or in the future. When Shi Yao woke up the next day, it was already 10 in the morning. The first thing she did after brushing her teeth was to rush to the kitchen. Chapter 506. Shi Yao picked up her phone and casually glanced at the screen. When she saw who the sender was, she abruptly froze in the middle of chewing on her food. Lin Jiej. The content of the message was, "Are you free today? China World Hotel just gave me a call. The chef has just learned a few new dishes, and they're inviting me over to try them. Are you interested? Let's go together? China World Hotel. New dishes. One is my favorite restaurant, and the other is my favorite food." Uncontrollably, Shi Yao's eyes lit up in excitement. I really want to go. But Shi Yao couldn't help but recall the words that Lin Jiej had said to her 2 days ago in Shenzhen when they were sharing a room. Nice to meet you, the girl I like. Did you miss me? It's fine if you didn't. In any case, I miss you a lot. Even though 2 days had passed, Shi Yao's heart still couldn't help but thump furiously whenever she recalled the scene back then. That kiss and the weight of him on top of her. Last night she even dreamed of that scene. Then she broke out in a sweat and woke up with a start. There were so many men who had wooed her, and some of their love letters were even more exaggerated than his. Yet she had never seen herself like that before. Ow? What's wrong? Why is your face so red? Hearing the commotion outside, Mother Sure walked out of the master bedroom and saw her daughter holding a meat bun while staring at a bowl of dumplings in front of her, so she couldn't help but ask. Her mother's words jolted Shuryao out of her daze. She shook her head and quickly lowered her head to continue eating. Do you have a fever? Mother Sure asked as she walked up to Shuryao and touched her forehead. You don't have a fever, so why is your face as red as a monkey's butt? Shuryao pouted. She had lost count of the umpteenth time that she wondered if she was Mother Sure's biological daughter. She knew her mother too well. She was afraid that her mother would pester her endlessly, so she hastily swallowed the rest of the breakfast and slipped back to her bedroom. After closing the door, she hid in the bathroom to wash her face and cool down the chaotic emotions she had felt from Lin Jiej's message. When she finished wiping her face and came out of the bathroom, her phone, which she had thrown on the bed, rang with a melodious ringtone. She walked over and took a look. It was a call from Lin Jiej. Wouldn't he be a little too persistent like this? Shuryao didn't pick up the call, allowing the phone to ring until it ended on its own. She thought that she could finally have some peace and quiet, but it didn't take long for Lin Jiej to call her again. Outside the bedroom, her mother heard her phone kept ringing. She couldn't help but open her door. Ow, your phone, why are you looking at your phone? Look at your phone, why don't you pick up the phone? Who called? Before her mother could get close, Shuryao had already picked up her phone and accepted the call. Seeing that she answered the phone, her mother didn't disturb her anymore and left the room. Shuryao waited until her mother closed the door before she called out to Lin Jiej on the other end of the phone. Hello? Did you see the message I sent you? Before Shuryao could reply, Lin Jiej spoke up once more. Forget it. I'll repeat it for you. The China World Hotel just gave me a call. The chef just learned a few new dishes, and they're inviting me over to try them. Are you interested? I'll pick you up and we'll go together. Chapter 507. As Lin Jiej's voice sounded in Shuryao's ears, she couldn't help but think of that night for the umpteenth time in the past few days. Her face suddenly reddened. Perhaps it was due to her silence, but Lin Jiej spoke up once more. Ow, did you hear what I said? Shuryao instinctively opened her mouth to speak, but she only managed to utter a single word before she suddenly froze. A moment later she continued. I don't think I'm free today, Lin Jiej. Hearing Lin Jiej's doubtful question, Shuryao subconsciously dug her phone a couple of times. She rarely lied, but she really didn't know how she should face Lin Jiej. Or rather, she was a little afraid of facing Lin Jiej, even though she had no idea what it was that she was afraid of. She took a moment to organize her thoughts before saying guiltily, I promised my mom a while ago that I would go shopping with her today, so I might not have time. Lin Jiej, is that so? That's really unfortunate. His tone didn't sound too different from usual, but for some reason, Shuryao felt a little shaky after telling a lie. So her voice sounded a little hoarse as she said, Indeed, it's really unfortunate. In contrast to Shuryao's nervousness, Lin Jiej's voice was still as relaxed as ever. It's fine. If you can't do it today, we can always do it another day. In any case, I can tell them not to serve the new dishes for now. I'll add them to the menu after I bring you to try them. Lin Jiej paused for a moment before asking, What about tomorrow? Are you free? If you aren't, we can do it the day after tomorrow or the day after that. In her impression, Lin Jiej was a lofty person who didn't care about anything. It was rare for him to be so patient. Shuryao was a little flustered by Lin Jiej's words. She struggled for a moment, but she still couldn't find the right words to reject him. In the end, she could only say, I'm not too sure yet. As soon as she said those words, Shuryao could clearly feel the atmosphere on the other side of the phone turning much quieter. Is Lin Jiej unhappy that I've rejected him so many times? But why should I care so much about whether he's happy or not? In the past, when she rejected other boys, those boys would get drunk and stand in the dormitory building for an entire night. Wasn't she also indifferent and calm? While Shuryao's thoughts were running wild, the silence on the other end of the phone was suddenly broken. Lin Jiej spoke up, and his voice was as calm as usual. It's fine. I'll ask you again tomorrow or the day after. Shuryao was stunned. He actually wasn't angry. According to her understanding of him, he didn't have such a good temper. He seemed to be a little different from the person in her memory. Roughly 10 seconds later, Shuryao finally snapped out of her daze and replied hesitantly, Oh, Lin Jiej, I won't disturb you then. Have a good time shopping with your mother. I'll contact you later. Shi Yao found it hard to believe that the person on the other end of the call was Lin Jiej. She replied with an "oh" in a daze, and after hearing Lin Jiej's goodbye, she replied with a goodbye before hanging up the call. It was just as Lin Jiej had said. The next day he called Shi Yao once more. Chapter 508. On the third day, Lin Jiej called Shi Yao once more. Shi Yao said that she was going to accompany Gu Nanxiang to the military museum today, so she rejected him. The fourth day, the fifth day, the sixth day, Lin Jiej tirelessly asked Shi Yao out, and Shi Yao racked her brains to come up with an excuse to turn him down. It was only on the seventh day, 2 days before the start of the semester, that Lin Jiej finally called her once more. The reason Shi Yao rejected him was that her roommates had returned to school today, and they had agreed to go shopping in the afternoon and have dinner together in the evening. Of the 7 times Lin Jiej had asked Shi Yao out, it was only on the last occasion that Shi Yao's reason for rejecting him was genuine. Other than Leng Nuan, who was working in Beijing during the summer break, whom Shi Yao had only met a few times, He Tiantian and Zhang Yu hadn't met for 2 whole months. Today was Leng Nuan's last day of work, so Shi Yao went to the airport to fetch He Tiantian and Zhang Yu at noon. Shi Yao really missed He Tiantian and Zhang Yu. After meeting up with them at the airport, the 3 of them hugged each other and chatted for a very long time before they boarded the car and headed back to school. Along the way, Zhang Yu and He Tiantian chatted nonstop about the interesting things that had happened during the summer vacation. She had been feeling a little vexed over Lin Jiej's relentless pursuit for a meal over the past few days, but now her mood had improved significantly. In the afternoon, Shi Yao, He Tiantian, and Zhang Yu shopped around the streets, and at 6 in the evening, Leng Nuan got off work. The 4 of them found a decent Sichuan restaurant near Leng Nuan's workplace and met up. After dinner, it was only 8 o'clock in the evening. As it had been a long time since they last met, He Tiantian suggested that they go karaoke. Leng Nuan, who had just received her salary, expressed that she was willing to treat them. Seeing that someone was paying the bill, Zhang Yu agreed without hesitation. Without bothering to ask for Shi Yao's opinion, they simply dragged her into a taxi and headed to a relatively high-end KTV in the vicinity. As it was still early, there weren't too many people in the KTV. After getting a room, Leng Nuan headed to the washroom while Zhang Yu began picking songs. On the other hand, Shi Yao and He Tiantian each carried a basket to the KTV supermarket to pick some drinks and snacks. While Shi Yao was choosing potato chips, she accidentally knocked into someone with the basket in her hands. She instinctively turned around and said, "I'm sorry." After being knocked over, the young man happened to turn around to look at her, and their eyes met. The boy was dressed like a woman. He had a diamond earring on his ear and his hair was gray-gray. For some reason, Shi Yao felt that the young man before her looked a little familiar, as if she had seen him somewhere before. However, she couldn't quite put her finger on it. Shi Yao and the young man stared at one another for a moment before the young man said, "It's fine." Then he grabbed 2 cans of beer and walked away. Shi Yao watched as He Tiantian left, but she didn't think much of it. She grabbed 2 bags of potato chips and a few bottles of yogurt before returning to the suite with He Tiantian. As Shi Yao walked out of the supermarket, she didn't notice that the man with granny gray hair was leaning against the wall of the corridor, recording her back with his phone raised. Chapter 509. On the other end of the call, Liang Mumu stared at Shi Yao's silhouette in the video she had just received for a long while before she spoke up with a voice brimming with hatred. "That's right, it's her." The gray-haired man frowned. "Big Miss Liang, isn't she your friend? Why do you sound like you hate her a lot? Are the 2 of you having a falling out? You girls are just like that, getting into fights over the smallest things. The conflict between the 2 of us isn't as simple as that." Liang Mumu seemed to have been provoked by something, and she suddenly raised her sharp voice to interrupt the man's words. "I have a deep grudge against her, and we can't coexist under the same sky. One day, I'll return all the pain I've been through to her." The gray-haired man was even more perplexed. "Wait a moment, Big Miss Liang. Can you explain yourself? What's going on? Did she bully you?" She looks weak and skinny, but you're the one who's making threatening gestures. That doesn't seem like it. What do you know? It's all thanks to her that I'm forced to live in the countryside by my aunt and uncle. Do you know that Sis Jai was the one who treated me the best when I was younger? When she appeared, I don't know what she did, but Sis Jai no longer called me Mumu whenever she saw me. Instead, Sis Jai treated her so warmly, as if she was her own younger sister. On the other end of the call, Liang Mumu, who had been baring her fangs and brandishing her claws a moment ago, suddenly started sobbing as if she had suffered an immense grievance. And Grandpa Lin. When I was young, Grandpa Lin doted on me a lot too. But later on, she appeared and Grandpa Lin kept calling me out, refusing to even look at me once. And Brother Jia, you should know that I like Brother Jia. I've always thought that it doesn't matter even if she snatches Sis Jai and Grandpa Lin away from me. But do you know that Brother Jia is still protecting her? If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have come to this broken place. I can't eat or sleep well every day. There are so many mosquitoes that I'm covered in blisters. You don't know how much I want to go back to Beijing. I want to see you guys again. I don't want to stay here at all. Hearing Liang Mumu's accusations, the gray-haired man's expression gradually turned vicious. So, you're in such a miserable state because of her? Why didn't you tell me earlier? She actually dared to bully you. Just you wait. I will help you vent your anger tonight. Don't mess around. I'm afraid that you'll be put at a disadvantage. Liang Mumu said as she sobbed softly. She knew him very well. His greatest strength was also his greatest weakness. He was a loyal friend. Thus, the more aggrieved she acted, the more he would think of ways to deal with her. She was in this situation because of her. Why did she have to suffer in the countryside while she sang and played with her friends in Beijing? With such thoughts in mind, a vicious glint surfaced in Liang Mumu's eyes, and the sobbing in her voice grew even more pronounced. Look at me right now, so it's best if you don't provoke her anymore. Chapter 5:10. Back in the private room, Jiang Yu hugged the microphone with her eyes closed. Putting on a deep expression, she sang a song that stung the ears the entire time. For the rest of my life, I only want you. For the rest of my life, you're the wind and snow, you're the light. Jiang Yu, I beg of you, please sing Waiting for 1,000 Years. You're making my ears go deaf. He Tian retorted bluntly as she ran over to the karaoke counter and began picking songs excitedly. After sitting down, Shi Yao was just about to grab a bag of fries to eat when she saw the mountain of snacks in front of her. She whipped out her phone, took a photo, and posted it on her WeChat Moments. The caption was, Question. Do you know what it feels like to fall in love at first sight? Answer snacks. A second after the photo was posted, Shi Yao tore open the packet of chips. Having been rejected by Shi Yao 7 times in a row, Lin Jiej's mood couldn't be any worse. On the day he returned from Shenzhen, he had asked her out for a meal, but she had rejected him. He hadn't noticed anything wrong with it, but on the second and third day, she had repeatedly rejected him. Even if he was a fool, he could tell that she was intentionally avoiding him. If she didn't accept his confession, he would surely pursue her. But she wasn't even willing to meet him, so how was he supposed to pursue her? After the phone call in the morning, Lin Jiej, who had been rejected for the 7th time, felt so stifled that he lost his appetite for lunch. He lay on his bed in the bedroom upstairs, tossing and turning for the entire afternoon. The more he thought about it, the more stifled he felt. At the start, he would sigh once every half an hour, but in the end, he would only sigh once every 5 minutes. The sky outside the window grew darker and darker. Even after lying on his bed for an entire day, he still couldn't think of a way to get close to Shi Yao. In the end, forced into a corner, he could only try his best. He sent Lu Benlai a WeChat message. What are those romance novels you read? Roughly 10 minutes later, Lin Jiej received Lu Benlai's reply. Boss, why are you reading those novels? Are you trying to woo little Junior? Don't you despise those books? An irrelevant answer. Lin Jiej couldn't be bothered to waste time with Lu Benlai, so he straightforwardly replied with a 3 before tapping on the send button, after which he tapped on the 2 button and sent it out. Before he could even click on one, Lu Benlai had already sent him a long list of books. Boss, the book list that you asked for is all here. Having achieved his goal, Lin Jiej didn't bother with Lu Binlai anymore. Instead, he went straight to the latter's book list and downloaded all of them. In the process of downloading, Lin Jiej took a look at his WeChat to take a look at his unread messages. Then he noticed that there was a red dot notification on his Moments page, so he tapped into it and saw the post that Yao loves ice cream had made 3 minutes ago. Question: do you know the feeling of love at first sight? Answer: snacks. The picture below was of a table full of snacks. Lu Binlai gave her a like and Lin Jai replied. Question: do you know what it feels like to fall in love at first sight? Answer: money. Seeing Lin Jai's reply, Lin Jiej sneered in disdain. Just as he was about to exit his Moments page, a thought suddenly struck him. He enlarged the picture Shi Yao had sent and stared at it for a moment before sharing it with the frivolous Liang Juicy. Do you know where this place is? Chapter 511. Liang Juicy was probably playing with her phone at the moment, so she was replying swiftly. 9 multiplication table. 9 multiplication table, I'm sorry, but your question is too tricky. The other party isn't able to answer it. 9 multiplication table, it's not that I'm trying to prattle on, but a pitch black room, a pile of snacks, and a table. Other than a KTV, only a ghost would know where we are. Lin Jiej's face remained impassive as he tapped his finger, and a new message appeared on the screen. Less than 111,111. 30 seconds later, the phone screen lit up. 9 multiplication table, Brother Jia, I'm a ghost. 9 multiplication table, so I know where we are. Please give me a moment. Lin Jiej didn't respond to Liang Juicy's message. Instead, he logged back into his Moments page and stared at Shi Yao's latest update for a while before adding in his mind. Question: do you know how it feels to fall in love at first sight? Answer: Shi Yao. Even though the two of them had known each other for more than 6 years, he had never truly laid his eyes on her. It was only when they met at SKP earlier this year that she walked into his eyes, and slowly she walked into his heart. Was that shock and awe he felt at first sight the feeling of love at first sight? But compared to love at first sight, he also liked to develop feelings over time. Over time, a light shade of red slowly crept up Lin Jiej's fair cheeks. What's wrong with me? Have I been single for too long? To think that I would suddenly find a girl I like, such ambiguous thoughts would pop up in my head at the slightest provocation. In the past, Lu Binlai and Xiao Shangzhou would chat about dirty jokes almost every night. Back then, he thought that they were vulgar, so he even mocked them. But now he was no exception. Sure enough, humans were all the same. You can't be vulgar, you just haven't met the person who can make you vulgar. While Lin Jiej was in a daze, his phone vibrated in his hand. Lowering his head, he saw that it was a voice message from Liang Juicy. 99 to 9 multiplication table. Brother Jia, I've already found it for you. You have no idea how incredible I am. With just that map alone, I managed to dig out the location just like that. 9 multiplication table. Brother Jia, I'm really a genius. It's fortunate that I've been hanging out at nightclubs since I was 13, and I've been to almost every venue in Beijing. Otherwise, I'm telling you, no one else would be able to find their way here. 9 multiplication table. That picture, do you see the advertisement in the upper right corner? That's how I found it. Previously, I made a bet with someone that if there was the word love on the advertisement, I would do a striptease. In the end, there really was the word love. I really did a striptease. Luckily, there was no woman that day. Otherwise, my chastity. Lin Jiej played 3 voice messages in a row, but he didn't hear any of them. So he impatiently tapped on the screen a few times. 111,111. Get to the point. 99 to 9 multiplication table shared a map. 99 to 9 multiplication table. It's this KTV. 99 to 9 multiplication table. So, can I continue what I was talking about earlier? Brother Jia, it's fortunate that there was no woman that day. Otherwise, my chastity would really be in danger. 111111. Aren't you a ghost? 99 to 9 multiplication table. Alright. Otherwise, my chastity would really be in danger. Chapter 512. Master Ghost? That sounds more like it. Lin Jiej casually tossed his phone onto the bed, ignoring the endless stream of messages from Liang Juicy. Ignoring the ding-dong ringing of his phone, he leaped off the bed and headed to the bathroom. 20 minutes later, Lin Jiej walked out of the bathroom and made his way to the changing room. He carefully selected a set of clothes and put them on, after which, he raised the hairdryer in front of the vanity mirror and fiddled with it for a while before he finally took a closer look at himself in the mirror. After confirming that there was nothing wrong with his appearance, he grabbed his phone and wallet and made his way to the garage. In the past, Lin Jiej would always drive his grandfather's car when he went out, but today, after circling around the garage, he finally decided on the sports car his father had gifted him on his 18th birthday. After getting into the car, just as Lin Jiej was about to start the engine, he suddenly realized that it would be a little too abrupt for him to barge into Soft Bun's karaoke club. It would be terrible if Soft Bun thought that he was spying on her. With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej took out his phone and sent a message to Lu Benlai and Xia Shangzhou. Going to karaoke? Lu Benlai. Yes. Xia Shangzhou. I want to go, but I can't. I've been detained by the Demoness. Lin Jiej casually replied to Xia Shangzhou. Demoness. Following which, Lin Jiej forwarded the address of the karaoke club that Liang Juicy had shared with him to Lu Benlai. See you in 10 minutes. Xia Shangzhou. Oh, I must have typed wrongly. It's Milady Queen. She detained me as her chauffeur, and right now she's enjoying a concert with her clients while I'm standing by the roadside, sweating profusely. I'll sympathize with you for a second. After replying to Xia Shangzhou's message, Lin Jiej headed over to Lu Benlai's side, and after seeing the latter's okay emoji, he put down his phone and started the car. Under the astonished gazes of the servants, he drove the eye-catching sports car out of the courtyard. Leng Wan didn't come from a particularly wealthy family, but she didn't lack money either. The reason why she was working over the summer was to accumulate social experience, so after receiving her salary, she generously ordered a few cocktails. The cocktails tasted good, and they tasted similar to soft drinks. As the girls chatted and sang, they unknowingly drank quite a bit. Leng Wan was usually a calm and capable person, but her alcohol tolerance was only average. Even though the alcohol content of the cocktail was low, she still felt a little tipsy by the end. Leaning against the sofa, she looked listless, as if she was about to fall asleep. Jiang Yu and He Tiantian's alcohol tolerance was around the same level. They weren't drunk, but they were a little tipsy. Perhaps it was due to the effects of the alcohol, but the two of them became a little excited, and they began singing song after song noisily. Of the four of them, but Shi Yao too was still a little. Just as Jiang Yu and He Tiantian finished their song and were about to toast Leng Nuan and Shi Yao once more, Leng Nuan staggered up from the sofa and said, I need to go to the washroom. As she spoke, she staggered towards the door of the private room. Shi Yao was a little worried about Leng Nuan, so she subconsciously stood up and said, I'll go with Nuan Nuan before hastening her footsteps to catch up to Leng Nuan. Nuan Qi. And Lu Lenli and almost fell several times. Leng. Lin of Sure of. Chapter 513. After entering the washroom, Shi Yao watched as Leng Nuan entered the cubicle before entering the neighboring cubicle. By the time she came out, the cubicle door was already open, and Leng Nuan was already nowhere to be seen. Shi Yao quickly walked out of the washroom, and when she saw Leng Nuan washing her hands at the sink, she heaved a sigh of relief. She walked over to Leng Nuan's side and turned on the tap as well. After washing her hands, Shi Yao took out 2 napkins and passed one to Leng Nuan while she dried her hands with the other. After that, she grabbed Leng Nuan's arm and walked out of the washroom. But barely after she and Leng Nuan took 2 steps, a few hooligans suddenly appeared before them. Shi Yao thought that they were here to use the washroom too, so she didn't pay them much heed. In fact, she didn't even spare them a glance. She pulled Leng Nuan to the side and opened up a path for them. However, who could have thought that those men wouldn't simply walk past her and Leng Nuan and enter the male washroom? Instead, they stopped right in front of her and Leng Nuan. An ominous premonition crept into Shi Yao's heart. With a slight frown on her forehead, she turned around to look at the group of men standing before her. The one leading the group was a man with grayish-gray hair. Shi Yao remembered that he was the one she bumped into when she was shopping with He Tian Tian in the supermarket, when she first arrived at the karaoke bar. It can't be that. He's here to settle the score with me over such a small matter, right? Yao Yao, I want to drink water. Lung Wan muttered softly as she stumbled forward. Shi Yao hurriedly reined in her thoughts and reached out to pull Lung Wan to prevent her from bumping into the men standing in front of her. Yao, I want to drink water. Lung Wan was so drunk that she didn't notice the situation around her at all. She was still mumbling incessantly. Shi Yao hid Lung Wan behind her before coaxing her softly. I'll get you some water later. Lung Wan immediately fell silent. She leaned weakly against Shi Yao, not saying a word or moving around anymore. Only then did Shi Yao turn to look at the men in front of her. As they were blocking her and Lung Wan's way out, she could only ask, "Can you please move aside?" The boys showed no signs of moving away. A deep frown formed on Shi Yao's forehead. She was just about to continue speaking when the gray-haired male student spoke up with an extremely vile tone. "You're the one who bullied my big sis Mu? Big sister Mu? I don't know what you're talking about, but can I trouble you to move aside? My friend isn't feeling too well." Shi Yao was a little confused as to who he was referring to. "Whether your friend is comfortable or not has nothing to do with me. All I know is that you bullied my friend. Do you know that bullying my friend is no different from bullying me?" The gray-haired man interrupted Shi Yao's words with a ferocious look on his face. Did he get the wrong person? Not to mention bullying others, she rarely even quarreled with others. Shi Yao pursed her lips and said, "I really have no idea what you're talking about. I think you might have mistaken me for someone else." Chapter 5:14. Liang Mumu. As those three words drifted into Shi Yao's ears, she suddenly realized why she found the man standing before her so familiar back at the KTV supermarket. Back then, after the sports meet, she had met him at the bar with Liang Mumu. That night, other than Liang Mumu, who kept finding all kinds of reasons to force her to drink, the other person who kept pulling her to drink was him. Don't tell me that you don't remember who Liang Mumu is anymore. Seeing that Shi Yao wasn't replying to him, the gray-haired man spoke up once more. "Big sis Mu has suffered terribly because of you. If not for you, would she have been sent to the countryside by her uncle? Do you know how pitiful her life is in the countryside right now? It's all thanks to you." What in the world is he talking about? Are you not even going to talk about the most basic values of the world anymore? Shi Yao's expression also turned stern. "I don't want to argue with you about such trivial matters. If you insist on reasoning with me, I can only say that you reap what you sow. Liang Mumu only has herself to blame for her predicament. It has nothing to do with me. From the start to the end, I've never done anything to let her down. As her friend, the word sorry has been pasted on her all this while, and I have a clear conscience." "A clear conscience? What a glib tongue you have there. To think that I doubted your feeble appearance to be able to bully others. But now, I finally understand why Big Sis Mu is in such a pitiful state." The gray-haired man's words grew more and more vicious as he spoke. "To tell you the truth, I'm here today to seek justice for Big Sis Mu." "Justice?" A cold sneer surfaced on Shi Yao's usually gentle face. "If you really want to seek justice, what you need to do now is to buy a high-speed train ticket and head to the countryside to look for Liang Mumu." It was impossible to reason with such a person in one's entire life. No matter how much she tried to persuade him, it would only be a waste of her breath. After coldly finishing what she wanted to say, Shi Yao pulled Lung Wan along with her, not willing to linger for a moment longer, and she prepared to leave forcefully. "You want to leave?" The gray-haired man was extremely displeased by Shi Yao's retort. Seeing that Shi Yao was intending to leave just like that, he subconsciously reached out to grab her wrist and flung her against the wall. "Do you think that you'll be able to leave just like that?" The touch of a stranger filled Shi Yao's heart with disgust. She furrowed her eyebrows and subconsciously struggled. The boy's grip on her grew tighter and tighter as she reacted. In the end, his grip on her wrist hurt. Since Shi Yao had to protect Lung Wan with one hand, she instinctively raised her leg to kick the man. The boy was kicked by her. He stepped forward angrily and reached out with his other hand to strangle her neck. In the eyes of the drunken Lung Wan, The boy's actions looked no different from him grabbing Shi Yao's collar. At that moment, she couldn't tell if it was reality or a dream. The image of her being pushed against the wall in the dark night and her clothes being torn flashed across her mind. Chapter 5:15. The man was clearly restraining Shi Yao, but Leng Wan was still shouting, "Let go of me! Let go of me!" She exerted a lot of strength, but she was still unable to pry the man's hand away from Shi Yao's neck. She became even more agitated, and her screams grew sharper and sharper. "Let go of me! Let go of me! Let go of me!" As she screamed, large droplets of tears rolled down from the corners of her eyes. Wan. Shi Yao was initially worried about her, but upon seeing Leng Wan in such a state, she couldn't help but panic. But no matter how she called out to Leng Wan didn't respond at all. She continued to pull on the man's arm with all her might. As more and more tears streamed down her cheeks, her shrill screams turned into helpless pleas. "Please let go of me, let go of me. I beg you. I beg you. Let go of me." In the end, all that was left in Leng Wan's mouth were her sobs. As she cried and cried, she suddenly let out a heart-wrenching scream. This made Shi Yao even more worried, and she struggled even harder. Nuan. It was hard to tell whether Leng Wan had hurt her or not, but as she screamed, she suddenly came to a halt. She stared fixedly at the arm that was strangling Shi Yao's neck, and as if in a frenzy, she opened her mouth and bit down on it. She bit down with all her might, reminiscent of a lunatic, causing the gray-haired male student to tremble in pain. He subconsciously let go of Shi Yao's neck and sent a tight slap across Leng Wan's face. "You stinking whore, how dare you bite me!" Leng Wan fell to the ground. She was already weak from drinking, so she couldn't even stand up anymore. Yet, the gray-haired man didn't have the slightest intention of letting her go. Clutching his throbbing arm, he raised his leg and kicked Leng Wan. Upon seeing this scene, Shi Yao, who had just broken free from her restraints, immediately rushed forward to stop the man. The gray-haired man was thoroughly irritated by the two girls, and he bellowed at the people around him, "What are you all standing around for? Can't you see me? Hurry up and help me. Take this bully big sister Mu to the men's washroom. I'll deal with her later. As for this one, she dared to bite me." As soon as he said those words, the others who had been shocked by Leng Wan's abrupt reaction came to their senses one after another. In the next second, they rushed up to Shi Yao, grabbed her arm and dragged her into the men's washroom. In the instant that the door to the washroom closed, Shi Yao saw the gray-haired male student bending down to grab Leng Wan's chin before raising his hand to slap her face. At the same time, he was still cursing furiously. "You be asterisk if you dare to bite me. See if I don't beat you to death." After Shi Yao and Leng Wan left, He Tian and Zhang Yu raised their microphones and sang a duet of "Yuri Marrying Me Today," with one of them singing beautifully while the other was tone-deaf. However, it had already been quite some time since Leng Wan and Shi Yao returned. Zhang Yu took out her phone and gave Leng Wan and Shi Yao a call, only to realize that they had left their phones in the suite. Could they have dropped them in the washroom? Or did Wan abscond with Yao Yao because she didn't want to pay? Chapter 5:16. The suite Shi Yao and the others booked was quite a distance away from the washroom. Laughter and singing could be heard from the private room next to them. Zhang Yu walked a long distance and only heard a woman scream when she was about to reach the door of the restroom. It was so shrill that she jumped in fright. Instinctively, she froze on the spot, and it was only then that she realized that the voice was very familiar. As this thought flashed across Zhang Yu's mind, she heard Shi Yao's voice amid the scream, "Nuan Wan." Zhang Yu frowned, but it didn't take long for her to realize that the scream was from Leng Wan. "Wan, what's wrong?" Zhang Yu subconsciously hastened her footsteps and rushed to the entrance of the washroom. There, she realized that Shi Yao and Leng Wan weren't the only ones there. There were a few other guys she didn't recognize. Judging from their attire, they looked very different from the guys in her school. They looked like the scum of the underworld. Of the four girls in their dormitory, Leng Wan was calm, Shi Yao was a glutton, He Tian was carefree, and as for Zhang Yu, everyone said that she was stupid. Jiang Yu admitted that she wasn't a smart person, and she was a straightforward person. Even when she got into G University, she had to study through the night and revise for an entire year before she barely managed to meet the minimum score. However, Jiang Yu felt that she was not an idiot that night. She had to admit that her first thought upon seeing that scene was to charge forward. However, in the instant she raised her leg, she lowered her head to look at herself and retracted her leg. In order to avoid being noticed by the guys, she quietly backed away as if she had never been there. It was only when those guys disappeared from her sight that she turned around and ran back to the suite. When Jiang Yu pushed open the door, she saw He Tiantian munching on a duck neck with disposable gloves. Seeing Jiang Yu barging in, He Tiantian chuckled. "What's wrong? Is there a ghost behind you?" Ignoring He Tiantian, Jiang Yu didn't even bother closing the door to the suite. She walked to the sofa and took out her phone. As she unlocked the screen, she walked over to the karaoke counter and turned off the background music. "Jiang Yu, what are you doing?" "I was just listening to that song." He Tiantian grumbled in displeasure. Ignoring her, Jiang Yu lowered her head and dialed 110. Perhaps it was because it was late at night, or perhaps it was because she was too worried about Shi Yao and Leng Nuan, but Jiang Yu had no idea how much time had passed. However, it felt as if a century had passed. Seeing that no one was picking up the phone, she couldn't help but panic. What's going on? Why isn't anyone answering 110? 110? He Tiantian abruptly raised her head. Why did you call 110? What's wrong? Jiang Yu said. It's Yao Yao and Nuanyuan. Something happened to them. What did you say? As Jiang Yu's voice fell, a male voice came from the door of the private room. Jiang Yu and He Tiantian stared at one another in bewilderment for a moment before turning their gazes toward the source of the voice. However, before they could clearly see who it was, the person was already standing in front of Jiang Yu. His calm voice was mixed with extreme nervousness and anxiety. What did you say? Yao Yao? Shi Yao? Am I right? Chapter 517. He Tiantian and Jiang Yu were taken aback once more. 3 seconds later, He Tiantian was the first to see who it was, and she exclaimed in astonishment, "Male." She only managed to utter a single word before realizing that her mouth had slipped. She quickly changed the word "God" to Senior Lin instead. Jiang Yu was still in a daze when she heard He Tiantian's voice. She stared at Lin Jiej blankly for a moment before replying. Senior Lin. A slight frown appeared on Lin Jiej's forehead. He was just about to ask if Shi Yao was in any danger when Jiang Yu, who was a beat slower, finally came to her senses. Before Lin Jiej could say anything, she had already interjected, Senior Lin, it's Yao. Something happened to Yao Yao. She and Nuanyuan were cornered in the washroom. Nuanyuan? Leng Nuan? Before Jiang Yu could finish her words, another voice sounded from behind Lin Jiej. While Jiang Yu and He Tiantian turned to look at the person who had spoken, Lin Jiej, who was standing in front of Jiang Yu, had already turned around and dashed out of the compartment. Shi Yao and Lin Jiej were from different classes, and they had attended PE classes together for half a semester. Even though their classes didn't interact much in class, Jiang Yu and He Tiantian still remembered Lu Benlai due to his name, and the fact that he had asked Leng Nuan for his phone number. Upon seeing Lu Benlai, He Tiantian immediately nodded and said, That's right, Nuanyuan is Leng. Before she could finish the word Nuanyuan, Lu Benlai had also turned around and dashed out of the compartment. Jiang Yu and He Tiantian's drunkenness had already dissipated completely due to the incident with Shi Yao and Leng Nuan. Seeing Lin Jiej and Lu Benlai dashing out of the compartment, they knew that they were heading to the washroom. They quickly packed up the important items in the compartment and followed after them. Lin Jiej was the first to reach the entrance of the washroom. Other than the trembling Leng Nuan who was curled up on the floor, the men that Jiang Yu had mentioned were nowhere to be seen. Shi Yao was also nowhere to be seen. Lin Jiej's heart skipped a beat. Before he could figure out where Shi Yao was being taken to, Lu Benlai had already rushed over and asked, Boss, what's wrong? As soon as Lu Benlai said those words, he immediately saw Leng Nuan, who was huddled up in a corner of the bathroom. His words abruptly vanished from his mouth. In the next second, without any hesitation, he rushed right up to Leng Nuan. Leng Nuan. As he spoke, Lu Benlai reached out to pull Lung Nuan up from the ground. However, before his fingertips could even touch Lung Nuan's arm, Lung Nuan suddenly felt someone approaching her, and her reaction was exceptionally intense. She immediately moved backward. "Don't touch me." Shocked by Lung Nuan's intense reaction, Lu Benlai's hands trembled in fear, and his body froze in midair. "Don't touch me, don't touch me." Lung Nuan muttered these 3 words a few times before burying her head into her knees. Then she fell silent once more. Even though she wasn't speaking or moving anymore, Lu Benlai could still clearly see her shoulders trembling. He felt as if something was squeezing his heart viciously, causing him to freeze on the spot. He stared blankly at Lung Nuan, unable to react. Chapter 518. It was only when Tian rushed to Lung Nuan's side and grabbed her arm, causing Lung Nuan to scream in agitation, that Lu Benlai finally snapped out of his daze. Tian's impression of Lung Nuan had always been that of a calm and composed woman. This was the first time she had seen Lung Nuan acting like this. Perhaps frightened by the sight before her, she grabbed onto Lung Nuan's arm tightly, refusing to let go. Lung Nuan screamed even louder, and her body was trembling so much that it was a little scary. Only then did Tian realize what was going on. She hurriedly let go of Lung Nuan's arm and asked softly, "Nuan Nuan, what's wrong?" "Nuan Nuan, I'm Tian Nuan Nuan." Lung Nuan didn't say a word, but perhaps hearing a familiar voice and name, her emotions gradually calmed down. "Nuan Nuan, I'm Tian, your roommate. You're fine now. Be good, everything's fine now." Seeing that her words were effective, Tian continued to coax Lung Nuan as she tried to reach out her hand once more. This time, when she touched Lung Nuan's arm, she saw that Lung Nuan's body only trembled violently. Seeing that Lung Nuan didn't resist or scream anymore, she boldly placed her hand on Lung Nuan's back and patted her lightly. "Nuan Nuan, it's fine now. It's fine now." As Tian repeated the words "it's fine now" over and over again, she could clearly feel Lung Nuan's body softening. Then she raised her head and looked around, only to realize that Lin Jiej and Jiang Yu were no longer at the entrance of the washroom. She was just about to ask where the 2 of them had gone when she heard heavy footsteps coming from the corridor, following which Lin Jiej and Jiang Yu appeared at the entrance of the washroom. Tian subconsciously asked, "Where's Yao Yao? Where did Yao Yao disappear? Where did they take her?" Lin Jiej's face was so dark that it was frightening. Instead of saying a word, Jiang Yu took over Tian's words. "We went to look for Yao Yao earlier, but she didn't leave the karaoke. We searched the rooms one by one, but we couldn't find her." Before Jiang Yu could finish her words, Lin Jiej had already arrived at the entrance of the male washroom. He reached out and pushed but couldn't open the bathroom door. The washroom is for public use, so it's impossible for the door to be locked for no reason. As this thought flashed across Lin Jiej's mind, he suddenly seemed to understand something. He pushed the door even harder, but it didn't budge in the slightest. Only then did he confirm his suspicions. He turned around to look at Lu Benlai and the 3 young ladies. Soft Bun's roommate said that there were quite a few guys. To him, Soft Bun's roommates weren't important. What was important was her roommates. There were only him and Lu Benlai in the room. If he were to really kick down the door, those men would rush out at once. It would still be fine if he and Lu Benlai were to protect 1 girl each, but 2 at the same time. In just a few short seconds, Lin Jiej had already made up his mind. "Lu Benlai, take the 3 of them with you." Hearing those words, a hint of worry flashed across Lu Benlai's eyes. "Boss, let the 3 of them leave first. I'll stay behind to accompany you." Chapter 519. Lin Jiej's tone wasn't too harsh when he said those words, but there was a hint of arrogance in his eyes. Lu Benlai had known Lin Jiej for 3 years, so he understood him very well. As such, he knew that this arrangement was the best one for them. He didn't argue any further and directly compromised. "All right then, boss. I'll take them away first. You be careful." Lin Jiej nodded, but he didn't say a word. Lu Benlai knew that time was of the essence to all of them, especially Shi Yao. who was still clueless about the situation in the washroom. Thus, without wasting any more time, he bent down, intending to carry Lung Nuan on his back and leave. However, as soon as he touched Lung Nuan, who had already calmed down after being placated by He Tian, became agitated once more. Nuan Nuan, this is our senior. He's not a bad person, so there's no need to be afraid. He Tian hurriedly stretched out her hand to pat Lung Nuan's back. Look, it's really our senior. He even asked for your phone number. He's not a bad person. Hearing He Tian's patient words, Lung Nuan slowly raised her head to look at Lu Benlai, who was squatting before her. This was the first time she had raised her head since everyone had arrived. Only then did Lu Benlai take a closer look. Her face was incredibly swollen, and there was even a cut at the corner of her lips. Blood was flowing down from it. The heck? Lu Benlai couldn't help but blurt out a string of profanities. Lung Nuan, who was looking at him, trembled in fear upon hearing his ferocious tone. She quickly leaned into He Tian's embrace. Seeing Lung Nuan's reaction, Lu Benlai hurriedly suppressed the rage in his heart and put on his usual carefree smile. Look, it's really our senior. He Tian's teasing voice sounded once more, and Lu Benlai turned to Lung Nuan with a radiant smile. The wariness in Lung Nuan's eyes slowly began to loosen. Only then did Lu Benlai slowly extend his hand toward her. Just as his hand was about to touch hers, he saw that she didn't resist, so he held her hand with relief. Then he turned around and carried her on his back. After carrying Lung Nuan on his back, Lu Benlai turned to Lin Jiej and said, "Boss, I'll be taking them away first." As he spoke, Lu Benlai carried Lung Nuan on his back and headed down the stairs. He Tian and Zhang Yu each left a senior Lin, be careful, before following Lu Benlai. Boss, you should be careful on your own. As soon as I leave this place, I'll call the police for you, Lu Benlai said as he walked away. Lin Jiej was just about to kick down the door when he heard those words. He frowned and said, I'll call the police later. Huh. Lu Benlai, who had already reached the staircase, suddenly halted his footsteps and looked at Lin Jiej in bewilderment. Of Lint, Lulu stopped and turned to look. Lin Jiej of Lint. His Lin Benlai and of Jiafen and Shan. Chapter 520. Lu Benlai. His reason for calling the police later was so that he could beat those people up a little longer, boss. Other than giving them 100 marks, there's nothing else in his mind. Lu Benlai was speechless for a few seconds before he calmed himself down. Carrying Lung Nuan on his back, he left with He Tian and Zhang Yu in tow. A second ago, the silhouettes of Lu Benlai and the others disappeared from Lin Jiej's sight. A second later, Lin Jiej abruptly dashed forward and raised his leg to kick the door of the male washroom. With a resounding pong, the door shook twice before opening. Lin Jiej saw Shi Yao being pressed against the window ledge of the washroom, and one of the men was forcing her to say something along the lines of, I'm sorry. His earlier kick had been too abrupt, interrupting their conversation. Everyone turned their gazes toward the door, including Shi Yao. Perhaps it was because she was being forced to do something she wasn't willing to do, but her lips were tightly pursed. There was a look of stubbornness on her face, but there was still a hint of panic and helplessness in her eyes. Most likely, she had gotten into an argument with them earlier. Her hair was a little messy, and there was a tear at the shoulder of her shirt, revealing a fair shoulder. There were a few red and swollen handprints on her face, as if someone had pinched her cheeks forcefully. This was especially so for the corner of her eyes. When she looked at him, he could see the beauty that he was familiar with. There wasn't the slightest bit of moisture or mist in her eyes, but after staring at him for a few seconds, her eyes suddenly reddened, as if she had suffered a huge grievance. Her eyes turned moist. Seeing Shi Yao in such a state, Lin Jiej's eyes immediately reddened in anger. He felt as if someone had lit a fire in his chest, and the burning sensation in his mouth made him feel as if he was choking on thick smoke. He stared at the scene in front of him without blinking. He lifted his foot and approached step by step. Perhaps it was because his aura was too powerful, or perhaps it was because those men were still in a daze from his sudden appearance, but they stared at him blankly for a long while. It was only when he was right in front of them that one of them bellowed viciously. "Who are you?" Then other people also spoke up. "Yeah, who are you? This has nothing to do with you. Get lost." Before he could finish his sentence, the voice in his mouth turned into a blood-curdling scream. Then, his sturdy body lay on the ground. Before anyone could process what had just happened, Shi Yao, who had been surrounded by them, was suddenly pulled behind Lin Jie. Following which, the door to the cubicle beside her was forcefully pulled open. Shi Yao felt a force pulling her forward, and in the next moment, she was stuffed into the cubicle by Lin Jie. Before Shi Yao could regain her balance, the door to the cubicle behind her had already been slammed shut, following which, with a resounding quang lang, she heard a commotion coming from outside. F***ck, how dare you hit my brother? Mother***ker, how dare you snatch someone from my hands? I don't care who he is, beat him up, beat him to death. Amidst the curses of the male students, Shi Yao heard Lin Jie's voice. It was a voice she was familiar with, but it was foreign to her. It was frighteningly cold, and he spoke in a tone that was foreign to her. "Didn't you want to know who I am? I'm the one who's going to beat you up." Chapter 521. It was only after hearing Lin Jie's words that Shi Yao finally realized what was going on at this very moment. When she was dragged into the male washroom, she saw the gray-haired male student hitting Lung Nuan. She tried to struggle free from them to protect Lung Nuan, but the strength of the male students was stronger than her. No matter how hard she tried, she was still dragged to the innermost part of the male washroom. It didn't take long for the grayish-haired man to kick open the door to the washroom and walk in cursing. Shi Yao felt a little more at ease upon seeing him. It had only been 2 to 3 minutes since she left Lung Nuan, so Lung Nuan should be fine. However, this relaxation only lasted for a short 10 seconds. When the gray-haired man locked the door to the washroom, Shi Yao's heart began to race once more. Perhaps the grayish-haired man was really angered by the cold, but he rubbed his arm that had been bitten by Liang Mumu while cursing profanities as he walked up to Shi Yao. Then he had someone pick up his phone to record her and force her to apologize to Liang Mumu. There was a saying that went like this: "A wise man submits to circumstances." But in Shi Yao's world, only a wise man who recognized his food was a wise man. She wasn't in the wrong. She had once treated Liang Mumu as her best friend, and she trusted her so much. All along, Liang Mumu had been lying to her, and now that she was being forced to apologize to Liang Mumu, she couldn't bring herself to say it, and she would never do so. Her stubbornness made the grayish-haired man a little irritable. He threatened her, pinched her cheeks forcefully, and forced her to apologize. He even tore her clothes, saying that he would teach her a lesson. She didn't understand what he meant by teach her a lesson, and it was precisely because she didn't understand that this unknown situation made her even more afraid. How could she not be afraid? 8 men surrounding a woman like her. No matter who it was, they would be afraid, right? Especially since they were all drunk, and 1 or 2 of them were clearly not sober. After her clothes were torn, they stared at her shoulder with perverted eyes and said in a perverted and evil manner that if she really didn't apologize, they would toy with her to death. She was disgusted by their gazes and disgusted by their obscene words. She hoped that a crack would appear in the ground and swallow her. She had even prepared herself for the worst. If they really did anything to her, she would jump out of the window behind her. The gray-haired guy had probably lost his patience with her. After asking her 3 times in a row if she was going to apologize, he took a step back and waved at the 2 guys who had been drooling over her for a long time, gesturing for them to do whatever they wanted. As they approached, Shi Yao could clearly see the excitement and cruelty in their eyes. She could even vaguely feel them swallowing their saliva. It was as if she was a plaything for them to slaughter in that instant. She was panicking and helpless to the extreme. Just as she thought that she was really doomed, the door to the washroom was suddenly kicked open by a powerful force. She raised her head and saw the man whom she had been avoiding for the past few days. He was as dazzling as ever. Chapter 522. Even when she was threatened, coerced, and even humiliated by them, she didn't cry. In fact, her eyes didn't even redden in the slightest. Yet, in the instant she saw him, for some reason, she felt so aggrieved that her eyes reddened, and she felt like crying. So now she was placed in a safe cubicle by him, and he was left outside alone to deal with those boys? Having made sense of the situation, Yao subconsciously pushed the door of the cubicle, only to realize that no matter how hard she tried, the door wouldn't budge in the slightest. So when Lin Jie pushed her into the cubicle and closed the door, the Quang Lang sound that she heard earlier was the sound of him sealing the cubicle door from the outside? As this thought flashed across Yao's mind, she heard curses coming from outside the cubicle. Every single one of them was filled with hatred and hatred. The heck? Who the heck are you? How dare you behave so atrociously in front of me? The heck, how arrogant. No one has ever spoken to me with such a tone in my entire life. Brothers, let's go and beat him to death. Right after those vicious words, Yao heard a loud pong, as if someone had been knocked to the ground, and the sound of bones striking the ground echoed. Yao's heart leaped to her throat. She couldn't see the situation outside clearly, so she had no idea who had been beaten up. Worried about Lin Jie, she instinctively reached out to push the door open once more, but no matter how hard she tried, the door didn't show any signs of opening. The commotion outside grew even louder. Pung pa quang lang dong. Every sound was so jarring that Yao couldn't help but start banging on the door furiously. Lin Jie. While banging on the door, Yao suddenly recalled a similar scene a few days ago. On her birthday, they had bumped into Qin Yuran, and they had been brought into an empty courtyard house. Just like how she had reacted that day, she had thought that she was done for. Then, he had pulled her into his embrace, and all he had to do was tell her to run before he forcefully pushed her out of the courtyard house. That day, he was exactly the same as today. He took the initiative to put her in the safest place and left himself in the most dangerous place. Yao had no idea what was going on with her. But at this moment, her heart was pounding so hard that she couldn't even muster the strength she was exerting to knock on the door or speak. The sounds of fighting outside the cubicle showed no signs of stopping. In fact, it was even more chaotic than before. Muffled groans of pain, the sound of wood breaking, and heart-wrenching screams. Every time Yao heard those words, her heart would tremble in fear. In the end, even her breathing had become uneven. Mustering all of her strength, she finally managed to open her mouth once more. Her voice trembled as she called out Lin Jie's name. Lin Jie, Lin Jie. Lin, as she shouted, her throat felt like it was being strangled. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't make a sound. She couldn't tell if she was afraid or worried, and the corners of her eyes started to mist up. She opened her mouth again and again, and with great difficulty, she managed to squeeze out a single word. Ja, but before she could finish her sentence through the door, she heard Lin Jie's slightly unstable voice. Zhao, I'm here. Chapter 523. Now I'm here. I'm here. It was such a simple sentence, but it caused Yao's eyes to redden once more. The pong pong dong dong sounds outside the door were still echoing, interspersed with cries of agony and pleas for mercy. Hearing Lin Jie's reply, Yao stood in a daze in the cubicle, unable to move for a long time. She had no idea how long she stood there in a daze for, but the commotion outside finally subsided. Amidst the moaning and moaning, Yao heard footsteps approaching the cubicle she was in. Then with a kacha sound, the cubicle door shook twice before it was pulled open. Yao raised her head, and Lin Jie, who was standing at the entrance of the cubicle, came into her line of sight. Just like when he had kicked open the toilet door earlier, he was still as dazzling and eye-catching as ever. However, his clothes were a little disheveled at this moment, and the expression on his face was so dark that it seemed as if it would drip water at any moment. However, what caught Yao's attention very quickly was a smear of red on his white t-shirt. It was exceptionally glaring. It only took a short instant for Yao to realize that it was a blood stain. Without any hesitation, she rushed up to Lin Jie and reached out to touch the smear of red on his chest. Are you injured? Does it hurt a lot? Her sudden touch caused Lin Jie's body to tense up, and his breathing halted for a moment. Seeing that her hand was still caressing his body, he quickly raised his hand and grabbed her fingertips. I'm not. Before he could finish his words, his gaze had already caught sight of the red ring around her wrist. A deep frown appeared on his forehead, and a sharp glint flashed across his eyes. Not only did they tear her clothes, force her to apologize, and pinch her face until it turned red, they even injured her wrist. As these thoughts flashed across Lin Jiej's mind, he swiftly scanned Shi Yao's body with a sharp gaze, and he noticed that there were obvious red and swollen marks on her fair neck as well. So they had strangled her too? Lin Jiej was so furious that his chest heaved up and down. He stared at the red mark on Shi Yao's neck for a moment before silently raising his hand to close the cubicle door once more. Then he grabbed a mop from the side and sealed the door shut. Ignoring Shi Yao's banging on the door and shouting his name, he charged at the people lying on the floor and raised his fist once more. As he pummeled them, Lin Jiej asked with gritted teeth, "Who hurt her?" A few of them were so frightened by the beating that they covered their heads and begged for mercy. At the same time, they unhesitatingly betrayed the gray-haired man. It was him. He was the one who pinched her and slapped the other girl. We didn't do anything at all. We didn't have time to do anything at all. Yes, it's him. It's all his idea. He even forced the girl you hit to apologize and even wanted to record a video for young Miss Liang to see. The girl he hid. Soft bun? Sorry, recording a video for young Miss Liang to see. Is this the doing of Liang Juxi's cousin who was exiled to the countryside? Lin Jiej's fury had been ignited when he saw the red marks on Shi Yao's neck and wrist, but this time it burned even more furiously. Chapter 524. He stared at the gray-haired man for a few seconds before making his way over. Perhaps it was due to Lin Jiej's overwhelming aura, but the gray-haired man couldn't help but feel a little frightened. Even though he couldn't even stand up from the beating, he still tried his best to crawl backward. But in the end he still ended up in Lin Jiej's hands. The gray-haired male student had already lost the strength to retaliate, but Lin Jiej still grabbed him by the collar and dragged him up before unleashing a flurry of punches and kicks on him. Unlike the other men, Lin Jiej didn't use any vulgarities or threats. He only spoke with his fists, and the gray-haired man's cries grew more and more pitiful. But even so, Lin Jiej didn't seem to have the slightest intention of stopping. Regardless of whether his fists landed on the gray-haired man's vitals or his head, he continued pummeling him relentlessly until the gray-haired man begged for mercy with tears streaming down his face. Only then did Lin Jiej stop. Grabbing the gray-haired man's arm, he forcefully dragged him all the way to Shi Yao's cubicle. Pointing to the door, he finally spoke up. This time, he was no longer as cold and silent as before. "Apologize to me." The gray-haired man collapsed to the ground, not saying a word. As if his patience had run out, Lin Jiej raised his leg and kicked the gray-haired man's body once more. Amidst the gray-haired man's screams of agony, Lin Jiej spoke once more with a tone that was much harsher and more impatient than before. "Apologize to me. Say that you're sorry." Right after saying those words, Lin Jiej raised his leg once more. Fearing that Lin Jiej would continue pummeling him, the gray-haired man clutched his head and wailed, I apologize. I'm sorry. Say it to the door." Yes. The gray-haired man hurriedly turned to look at the cubicle Shi Yao was in, but before he could speak, Lin Jiej suddenly thought of something and said, "Wait a moment." Following which, he turned to the men beside him and pointed at one of them. "You, get over here." The man was already frightened by Lin Jiej's pummeling. Without any hesitation, he scrambled over to Lin Jiej's side. Lin Jiej bent down and fished out the gray-haired man's phone from his pocket. "Unlock it." As if a robot under Lin Jiej's control, the grayish-haired man hurriedly placed his finger on the card. After unlocking the camera, Lin Jiej tapped on the camera and passed it over to the male student he had called over earlier. "Take a picture of him." As he spoke, Lin Jiej shot a glance at the gray-haired man and said, "Apologize to me now. I'm telling the two of you, behave yourselves. If I'm not satisfied with the recording, I'll beat you up again." Yes. The two boys were so scared that they nodded their heads like chicks pecking rice. Without saying a word, Lin Jiej took 2 steps back and crossed his arms before his chest as he began monitoring the duo. The two of them didn't dare to mess around anymore. One apologized honestly, while the other focused on recording. Roughly a minute later, the man in the video shot a fearful look at Lin Jiej and said, "I'm done." Chapter 525. After standing in front of the man recording the video, Lin Jiej reached out to grab his phone and check the video he had just recorded. After confirming that there was nothing wrong with it, he tossed the phone back to the gray-haired man and asked, "Who were you trying to send a video to?" Before the gray-haired man could respond, Lin Jiej had already spoken up. "You don't need to tell me who that person is. I can't be bothered to hear her name. What you need to do is send this video to her." Didn't Liang Juicy's cousin want to see Soft Bun make a fool of herself? That's good. I'll let her see. How ridiculous the people on her side are as a joke, and how embarrassing the people on her side are. You must be joking. If you want to see the girl I like make a fool of herself, you should at least ask for my permission first. Besides, was the girl whom he, Lin Jiej, like someone who could be bullied as and when they pleased? With such thoughts in mind, Lin Jiej noticed that the gray-haired man wasn't reacting at all. With a frown on his forehead, he raised his leg and said threateningly, "Don't make her wait too long." Before Lin Jiej could finish his sentence, the gray-haired man had already picked up his phone and sent the video to Liang Mumu under Lin Jiej's supervision. After the video was sent, Lin Jiej waved his hand disdainfully at the gray-haired man, gesturing for him to move aside. It was only after the gray-haired man dragged his body away with great difficulty did Lin Jiej finally make his way over to the cubicle door. He tore off the mop used to seal the cubicle door, and casually tossed it to the ground before opening the door once more. Meeting Shi Yao's gaze, Lin Jiej's vicious expression immediately softened significantly. "Let's go." Shi Yao didn't say a word, but she nodded her head lightly. Perhaps it was because she had gone through too many things that night, and it had been quite a harrowing experience. Her legs felt incredibly weak. As she tried to take a step forward, she nearly fell to the ground. It was fortunate that Lin Jiej reached out to support her in time. "Are you able to walk?" Shi Yao hurriedly nodded her head and replied with a soft, "Yes." Then, out of curiosity, she subconsciously tilted her head to the side, wanting to walk around Lin Jiej to see what was going on in the washroom. The men were lying on the ground, clutching their stomachs. Their noses and their bodies were curled up. Every single one of them was groaning in pain. There were several bloodstains on the ground, and there were even wooden sticks that had been broken in half. Their faces were even worse, bleeding from their noses and swollen cheeks. But before Shi Yao could see what was going on, a warm palm suddenly appeared in front of her eyes, blocking her view. "That's not clean anymore." Lin Jiej's gentle voice sounded from above her head, and Shi Yao's head was brought back to his face. Then he pressed her face against his chest, and just like that, he led her out of the cubicle and toward the entrance of the male washroom. But barely after they took a few steps, Lin Jiej of Lin Jiej, Lin Jiej, Lin, and Lin of Jiej of the same Lin had Lin with the mumted out of. Chapter 526. His first reaction was to instinctively pull Shi Yao even tighter into his embrace before pulling Shi Yao to the side to hide. The gray-haired male had suffered the most blows from Lin Jiej, so his movements were a little sluggish. With Shi Yao in tow, Lin Jiej was more than capable of dodging the attack. However, just as he was about to dodge the attack, Lin Jiej suddenly remembered how he had been trying to ask Shi Yao out every day for the past 7 days, but he hadn't been able to get her. Hadn't he been fretting over how he was going to woo Soft Bun if she were to continue rejecting him? If he were to be injured right now, and it was because of her, she wouldn't be able to continue hiding from him, right? With such thoughts in mind, Lin Jiej abruptly stopped his actions of dodging the rod and froze on the spot. He watched as the moped fell from the sky. When the moped struck him, he lost his balance and dragged Shi Yao down with him. Without any hesitation, he raised his arm to block the moped. Even though the gray-haired male didn't have much strength in his attack, Lin Jiej still sucked in a cold breath of air in pain. following which, he felt that he couldn't move his right arm at all. Even the slightest movement left him sweating profusely from the excruciating pain. Even though Shi Yao was in Lin Jie's embrace and couldn't see her surroundings, she knew that something had happened to Lin Jie. Lin Jie, what's wrong? Lin Jie, Shi Yao asked as she struggled to free herself from Lin Jie's embrace. Lin Jie used his left hand to press on her head and said, "Don't move, I'm fine." Shortly after he said those words, a series of footsteps sounded from outside the washroom, following which several people dressed in police uniforms appeared at the entrance. Even though the male students had been beaten up, they were the troublemakers, and Shi Yao and Lin Jie were the victims. Thus, the police took them away. But they left Shi Yao's phone number with them, and instructed her to send Lin Jie to the hospital first before returning to the police station to give a statement. Lin Jie had driven over, so he was still driving his flashy sports car to the hospital. Of course, the driver was Shi Yao instead of him. As she was in a hurry, she drove very quickly. Seated in the front passenger seat, Lin Jie attempted to move his arm a few times, but every single movement brought excruciating pain to his arm. He couldn't help but feel worried. Could it be that he had played too many tricks and this time he had messed up his arm? When they arrived at the hospital, Shi Yao flipped through Lin Jie's identification card and helped him register for the emergency department. There weren't many people in the hospital in the middle of the night, so it didn't take long for Lin Jie to be called to take an X-ray. Lin Jie handed the results over to the doctor, but before he could ask about his condition, Shi Yao had already asked anxiously, "Doctor, how is it?" The doctor on the night shift was an old doctor. He looked at the scan with his presbyopic glasses for a while and said, "It's a mild fracture. He'll have to rest for a month." 1 month? So serious? Shi Yao grew even more worried. 1 month? It seemed like the situation wasn't that serious. Lin Jie heaved a sigh of relief. They left the hospital and returned to the car. Shi Yao started the car. And just as she was about to step on the accelerator, Lin Jie suddenly said, Can you send me here?" As he spoke, Lin Jie tapped on the address saved on the car's GPS. "I can't go home." Chapter 527. Can't go home? Shi Yao abruptly stopped her foot on the accelerator and turned around to look at Lin Jie with a confused look. Noticing Luo Ruoxin's gaze, Lin Jie explained, "As soon as I return home, everyone in my family will know about my injury. My parents are overseas at the moment, and they have a very important business deal to discuss." He wasn't sure whether those two had important collaboration discussions or not, but earlier this afternoon, he had seen his father's photos of the beautiful seaside scenery and delicacies in the family chat group. "When they learn that something happened to me, they'll surely rush back overnight. If they do that, the collaboration will surely fall through, and it'll be too much for them. My dad's back isn't very good, and he even told me 2 days ago that it's so painful that he can't sleep at night." Speaking up to this point, Lin Jie lowered his gaze slightly, putting on a look that suggested that he was thinking on behalf of his parents. "Besides, my injury isn't that serious, so there's no need for them to worry about me. It'll be tiring for them to rush back and forth." So, this was what he meant when he said that he couldn't go home. Shi Yao pondered for a moment, and she felt that Lin Jie's words made sense. If her injury wasn't that serious, and her parents weren't feeling well, she wouldn't want to torment them like that either. But if he couldn't go home, where would he stay? He couldn't possibly be staying in a hotel, could he? With this thought in mind, Shi Yao asked, "Where will you stay then?" Lin Jie replied with an "Oh." Raising his left hand, he tapped on the address on the car's GPS and said, "I stay here," after which, he paused for a moment before adding, "This is my home, so I won't be staying there most of the time. However, I can still go there to recuperate for the time being." After hearing Lin Jie's words, Shi Yao noticed that the address Lin Jie had tapped on was a high-class residential area. It was located in the heart of the city, and every inch of land here was worth its weight in gold. Back then, due to the ridiculously high price tag, it had caused a huge uproar on the internet for a period of time. There were even people who joked that the symbol of a tycoon was whether or not one had a suite in this high-class residential area. In recent years, property prices in Beijing had been rising rapidly, But Lin Jiej still had a house there, and it was his home. Following the GPS, Shi Yao steered the car forward. Out of pure curiosity, she asked casually, "Grandpa Lin bought this house for you?" Why would Soft Bun suddenly ask such a question? As curious as Lin Jiej was, he still answered her question honestly, no. Seeing that there was a red light ahead, Shi Yao slowly stepped on the brakes and asked, "Did Uncle Lin and Aunt Lin buy that for you?" Lin Jiej couldn't help but take a few more glances at Shi Yao before replying, "Not really. I still didn't get it right. Could it be that Sis Jai bought it for him?" While Shi Yao was deep in thought, she blurted out the words that had been bothering her for a long time. "I get it now. Sis Jai bought it for you, right? I've always known that Sis Jai is a good moneymaker, but I didn't expect her to be so good at it. The houses there are really expensive." Hearing those words, Lin Jiej finally understood what Shi Yao was thinking. So, the reason she kept asking him who bought the house for him was because it was too expensive. However, after thinking about it, why didn't she think of him? Chapter 528. Lin Jiej glanced at Shi Yao, who was driving, and replied, "I bought that house myself. I didn't spend a single cent of my family's money." Hearing Lin Jiej's words, Shi Yao turned to look at him in disbelief. Then with a doubtful tone she asked, "Are you serious? Are you serious? Can anyone tell me just how unbearable I am in Soft Bun's heart?" Back then, when he sent her a message when she was being scolded on the forum, she thought that he was her grandfather. Later on, she even said that he could fall in love with anyone but her, saying that it was impossible for him to fall in love with her. Not too long ago, when he shared a room with her in Shenzhen, she even sent him a WeChat message saying that she liked his sister more than him. Lin Jiej secretly mused for a moment before replying, "Of course it's true," after which he paused for a moment before continuing, "If you don't believe me, I'll call the real estate agent right now and buy one for you." Saying so, Lin Jiej really picked up his phone with his left hand and made a call. "Hello? Yes, I'm buying a house. Is there no more new houses in Courtyard 9? Following which, Lin Jiej turned to Shi Yao and asked, "There aren't any new houses left. I have a second-hand house that no one has lived in before. Is that okay?" Hearing Lin Jiej's question, Shi Yao abruptly stepped on the brakes. Due to inertia, both of their bodies leaned forward a little. But before they could stabilize themselves, Shi Yao anxiously said, "It's just a casual question. It's not that I don't trust you." Ignoring Shi Yao's words, Lin Jiej continued speaking into the phone for a while before turning to Shi Yao and asking, "How big do you want it? 150 square meters or 270 square meters? Lin Jiej, is there something wrong with him? Just to prove that he's not lying, he's going to give someone a house? Do all rich people play such a big game? I want to buy the house, but it's not under my name. Do you want the information of the person under whose name the house is registered?" "Alright, the name is Shi Yao, and the time is Shi Yao." Seeing that Lin Jiej was already reporting the news into the phone, Shi Yao hurriedly reached out to snatch the phone from Lin Jiej's grasp. After apologizing a few times, she finally added, "We're not buying a house, we're really not buying a house." After which, she hurriedly hung up the phone. After stopping Lin Jiej, Shi Yao raised her hand and patted her heart, which had been frightened by Lin Jiej, before returning his phone back to him. Just as Lin Jiej reached out to take the phone, Shi Yao was worried that he would call the real estate agent once more. So she quickly tightened her grip on the phone and asked, "You won't be buying another house, right?" Lin Jiej didn't say a word. He simply stared at her intently. Roughly 10 seconds later, Shi Yao finally understood the meaning behind his gaze, and she quickly replied, "It's not that I don't trust you." Shi Yao was really afraid that Lin Jiej would buy a house for her, so her tone sounded as if she was making a promise to him. "I just can't believe that you're able to earn so much money at such a young age. If I were in your shoes, I wouldn't even dare to think about it. I've always thought that you're someone else's child. You're born into a good family, have good looks, and study well. But only now do I realize that you're even more like someone else's child." Lin Jiej calmly replied with an "Oh, forget it then. I'll listen to you." Chapter 529. Lin Jiej took the phone and fell silent. Shi Yao also didn't say a word as she started the car once more. After driving for a certain distance, Lin Jiej turned his head to look out the window. As the night scenery flashed past Lin Jiej's eyes, his lips couldn't help but curl up into a smile. Just now were Soft Bun's words praising him? But to be more like someone else's child than someone else's child. Why did those words sound so uncomfortable to him? He didn't want to be someone else's child, he only wanted to be her child. The car was silent, and the two of them didn't speak anymore. After driving for quite some distance, Lin Jiej suddenly thought of something, and he muttered, "In any case, what's mine is also yours. In any case, my house is also yours. If you don't want to buy it, so be it. We can always buy another location later." His voice was very soft, so Shi Yao, who was too focused on driving, didn't hear what he was saying. She only heard his voice, and she subconsciously replied with a "hmm." Lin Jiej snapped out of his daze and glanced at Shi Yao before replying. "It's nothing." Shi Yao replied with an "oh" before falling silent. The car continued driving for another 300 to 400 meters before Lin Jiej caught sight of a 24-hour supermarket outside the car window. A glint flashed across his eyes, and he broke the silence in the car once more. "Let's stop by the roadside. My house has been vacant for a long time, and there are many things that I don't have. I'll have to make a trip to the supermarket." Shi Yao glanced out the window, and seeing that there was indeed a supermarket, she quickly stepped on the brakes and stopped by the roadside. As Lin Jiej's arm was injured, Shi Yao was in charge of pushing the trolley while he carried the items. Most of the items that Lin Jiej chose were daily necessities, but when he was carrying the toothbrush and towel, he took 2 of them. "He's the only one here. Why is he taking 2 of them?" Shi Yao was perplexed, but she didn't ask him about it. She just thought that he was stocking up on the side. After picking out the daily necessities, Lin Jiej passed by the snacks section and stocked up on some snacks as well. Even though they didn't spend too much time in the supermarket, Lin Jiej had bought quite a lot of things, filling up 2 large bags. From the supermarket to the car, it took less than 5 minutes before they arrived at Lin Jiej's neighborhood. Following Lin Jiej's instructions, Shi Yao drove the car straight to the underground parking lot. Just as they were about to reach their destination, Lin Jiej said, "It's getting late, and we're quite a distance away from school. Why don't you drive my car back?" This sports car was already eye-catching. If he drove it back to school, it would probably be on the school forum tomorrow. Shi Yao hurriedly shook her head and said, "There's no need for that. I'll just hail a cab." "It's not safe for a woman like you to take a taxi." Before Shi Yao could find another excuse to reject him, Lin Jiej continued, "If you really want to take a taxi, I'll accompany you to your school. After that, I'll take a taxi home." He was injured. How could she let him accompany her back and forth? "All right then, I'll bring the car back to you later." Seeing that Lin Jiej didn't seem to be joking, Shi Yao could only compromise. At most, she would just park her sports car outside the school grounds. Lin Jiej didn't say a word. He lowered his eyelids to conceal the darkness in his eyes. He had mentioned that she was going back to school, but she had never mentioned that she was going to stay behind to take care of him. Fortunately, he was careful and purposely made a detour to the supermarket. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.